There's no time.
The time is
13
o'clock.
Hey, you guys out there. It's episode 158.
Yeah, this one's by popular request. Some people on Tom Chitty Movies, which is one of my Facebook groups. Actually, it's my only Facebook group.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. Knew that this one was coming, okay, because they knew that I was doing some research on Bullshido. Bullshido is bullshit martial arts.
Yeah.
Right? And the ninja. How this all started, somebody reminded me of it recently, actually I saw Bloodsport and shit. And how this all got started in my life is when I was a kid, and for about a year, for 1 year, because of my stepdad and everything, me and my mom moved to Michigan. And while we were in Michigan, I had a stepbrother there. And he was like a second-degree Taekwondo black belt. Hey, the motherfucker was a badass. He could use all these weapons. He would go to all these tournaments. He'd do... it was like full-contact sparring, but he had pads on. It was quite impressive. Well, it got even more impressive when he started beating dudes' asses at school with it. 'Cause I went to school with it. I see him beat like 2 or 3 dudes' asses simultaneously. It was pretty impressive. But then, afterwards asking him about it, turns out he wasn't really using that Taekwondo. He was only using the punches and the kicks, and he could kick somebody in the face, but he really wasn't using all the fancy stuff that Taekwondo would do, like these big flying kicks. He didn't use any of that. He just used the very basic stuff. And of course, he couldn't use the weapons on people. The weapons were mostly just for show at these tournaments. So I was like a big believer in martial arts as long as you didn't use martial arts, because that seemed to be kind of like what he was doing, And then on the other hand, I had this other friend named Mike, and he had a buddy who was from Woodhaven. He went to another high school, and his name was Jim, and he was going to one of these dojos and run around like a ninja. We used to call him Ninja Jim. Dude had...
Ninja Jim.
Yeah, Ninja Jim. He'd stand there with his arms out like he was at the ready position, like he was in his dojo all the time. wear that fucking gi, he'd go out, and he was a real goofball, Real goofball. He'd believe in chi and shit. And the thing, never saw Jim fight. He did a lot of talking, never saw him fight.
Well, isn't that always the way?
Yeah, and if somebody bowed up on him, he'd puss out like he wasn't there. He'd try to vanish. You know what I mean? So, from an early age, I had the idea that there were martial arts that worked, and then there were other martial arts that didn't work. And that's what we call Bushido. Bullshido. Yeah, Bullshido. All right. So we're going to try to straighten out some Bullshido here and some ninja stuff, and then, I've been studying it recently, and some of it I go way back with some of this, It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, this should actually be pretty fun, because some of the people that are that come up under like martial arts frauds and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're hilarious.
One guy in particular, and I might put some video of him just because I can't believe how fucking funny it is.
Ninja Jim, my friend Ninja Jim was kind of like Ashida Kim. If anybody knows who
That's
Ashida
what I'm
Kim
talking
was.
about.
Like
We'll get into that later.
Right. But my stepbrother Billy was like I don't know. He was like an early MMA guy. This is before UFC and MMA.
Yeah.
The whole idea of like full contact martial arts really was kind of like you were treading the edge of like something maybe criminal. You know what I mean? Back then everybody fought with pads. But it turns out there were guys that were trying to do it bare knuckled going all the way back to the 60s. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
And they were kind of the pariahs of the martial arts scene. And you'll find out. We're going to tell the whole story.
Yeah, but definitely, and like I said, he's got me into like watching all these videos about all these different frauds and stuff like that. There's one guy, who's that one guy's channel we've been watching a lot of?
The Pink Man.
The Pink Man. Yeah.
He's got some good stuff. There's another guy, I don't remember his name, but the Pink Man's my favorite one. He's the one that'll point you in the right direction. But Bullshido.
This is some funny
Bullshido.
shit. Like I said, I can't wait till we get to the part about Ashida Kim because I really want to put
Ashida Kim's awesome.
I really want to put some shit from his little videos in here, and also from one of his books, one in particular, which just really, really. I'm not gonna buy the shit. I'm not gonna pay for it. But I read like some reviews of it that had quotes from it, and it sounds epic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can explain a lot what's going on with Bullshido too as we go when time comes. Maybe I'll talk about it after we talk about the ninja.
Yeah, because we wanted to do ninja, but it's kind of all like related, but you know.
As soon as we're done talking with ninjutsu, remind me, and I will explain where Bullshido comes from.
Okay.
There are real martial arts, and then there's Bullshido. And
we're not shitting
both.
on martial arts as a whole. We're just shitting on it's almost kind of like, and there's a little bit, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit when you talk about like Frank Dukes and people like that. There's a little bit of like a stolen valor thing going on too, where it's like these guys, you know, they claim they have all these powers that they don't really have, or they claim that they have all this fighting experience that they don't really have.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing as like people that say they're Navy SEALs and all that kind of shit. So that's what we're talking about.
There are fake UFC fighters. There are fake MMA fighters. But they just fake it in a different way.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about all that.
Yeah. All right. So first thing I want to do, just a couple of shout outs. First, we have a new patron this week on our Patreon page, and her name is Virginia. So hello there, and thank you very much for your support of the show.
Thank you very much.
Also, as I said on the show before, and I put the commercial in the middle of this episode, and I put it in the middle of the last one too, is that Faceless Villain Volume 3, which covers true crimes, unsolved murders from 1980 to 1999, is out in print and ebook format. Now, the audiobook format should be out pretty shortly because I uploaded the files a little more than a week ago, and usually it takes between 10 to 14 days, like, to go through quality control and stuff like that, so it might be up by the time this comes out, but maybe not. But it's not going to be very long. Like, it'll definitely be probably the same week that this goes up. Like, should be up this week. So I'll let everybody know on the page when that happens, and I'll put it on my blog and everything like that as well. So that's pretty much all the shout outs I think that we have. So let's get into talking about the ninja.
Yeah.
Now, when, you know...
Let me back up real quick.
Okay.
When we were kids in our generation, growing up in the 1980s, all right, we didn't have the internet. All we had was damn movies and magazines. There was like some Stone Age shit, all right? And a lot of the movies that started to happen in the 80s that young guys would watch were these fucking ninja movies.
There was a lot of those in the 80s. Yeah, a lot.
Martial arts movies, and there's always some kind of ninja in it. So you'd, just by osmosis, you'd have some friends that were doing martial arts, or you could go right down to 7-Eleven and look at a black belt magazine and see nothing but mail order advertisements for ninja gear, like fucking ninja boots and ninja swords and just all this martial arts stuff. So if you had friends that were involved in it, you would hear all these stories about ninja, and you really weren't sure what was true. You're a kid. You're not going to go to the library, and if there's a library, it's not going to have much on ninja. Okay?
Yeah, probably.
And there was no internet to really verify these claims of, you know, shit like death touches, throwing stars, you know, comma weapons, which is like a damn stick with a sai on the end of it, you know. You just see these vicious looking weapons and dragons and derpy shit like that, and you're like, yeah, there might be something to it.
Man,
when
that's
you're a kid.
Cool as shit.
Might be something to it, yeah, when you're a teenager. So we didn't know where ninjas really came from. We just thought they were something that maybe existed right now in Japan. You know?
That you could that you could move to Japan and go to ninja school
and become a ninja,
and they would teach you all of this really cool shit.
You weren't quite sure.
You'd put on your little black pajamas. You would like go through this rigorous training routine.
Yeah, Yakuza might be involved. You know.
Sure, yeah, and then you would graduate, and they would give you your little box of throwing stars and a sword and shit like that.
And then video games are appearing, like video games called Shinobi. You know? Bad Dudes and Street Fighter, you know, all this was just like part of the the gestalt of the 80s.
There was so
It's
many.
fucking
There
everywhere.
was so many. There was just ninjas.
Yeah, and
Everything had
kind
ninjas
of
in it.
led to, it had a certain air of credibility.
Yeah.
You know? Well, when you're 16, 17.
Yeah, you don't know
18,
any different.
that might be a thing.
And that's
You know?
especially
Right.
like I said, it's a country that's that's all the way around the world,
Right.
and you don't know what they're up to over there.
Right.
It's like they could have all that shit
Right.
over there.
So we're gonna discuss kind of the historicity of ninja.
Yeah,
at this
and
point,
I'm
okay.
gonna tell you right now,
Yeah.
spoiler alert. The ninjas that you see in the movies, when everybody, if you say the word ninja, what
Yeah.
everybody thinks of is the guy in the black suit with
outfit.
just the eyes showing
Yeah.
and swords or throwing stars or whatever, who's like super sneaky and sometimes has magical powers,
Yeah.
like depending on what the movie was or what the story is.
Yeah.
I hate to burst anyone's bubble that still
Yeah.
believes in ninjas,
Yeah.
but that's
Well, no,
that
ninjas.
that
There
is
wasn't
not
ninjas.
no, that's not how that worked.
No.
So
This all started in the 1500s during the Japanese warring states period. It was not a unified country. I believe they had samurai, but I don't think it was a real rigid class system. I think you could get a job as one, which basically meant like professional soldier. In
yeah.
the same way you could become a knight. If you had enough money, you could buy the armor and you could go out and find a job. you know.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. There was no emperor. It wasn't united. And they also just had soldiers, guys with matchlock rifles, and they even had explosives. Actually, that went on for a long time. So that's when it all started. This warring states period. Go ahead and tell them about it, Jane.
Yeah, so originally, really the word ninja didn't even kind of come into play until probably, the 17th, 18th centuries.
Yeah, after it had happened.
After this stuff had already happened.
Yeah.
Now, what we would, it's like I hesitate to say because, the word ninja just has, it's basically a folkloric.
Yeah, that word doesn't appear.
Figure.
That word doesn't appear until around the 1800s.
Yeah. Now, the closest analog and, where a lot of the historical sources say that it comes from was coming from what they would call a shinobi.
There's this word shinobi.
Yeah.
There's some accounts of attacks on castles. The guy would write stuff like, we got attacked. It was a shinobi action. They burned down this house over here and that one over there. And the leader of the guard said that they were from Endo or some other little town that was near them. So it just said it was a shinobi action.
Yeah.
All right. And there's a lot of stuff like this. So you had samurai in the 1700s reading this, thinking, well, what's a shinobi? There must be some shinobi out there that do this.
Yeah.
Because a samurai wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Wrong. Shinobi was more like a mission. It meant like a covert mission or a commando mission. That's what it meant. Like covert.
It started out more as like a descriptor. It wasn't talking about a person necessarily.
Right.
It was talking about a person, doing these covert actions like
Right.
undercover of darkness, like sneaking around, doing spy shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, kind of going undercover and like getting information by like dressing as a farmer or something like that.
But samurai of the 1700s are reading this account that comes from the 1500s, and they can't imagine one of their own kind doing this kind of mission because it's a sneak attack. That's kind of dishonorable.
Yeah.
So they think that there's a special class of warrior called a shinobi.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking.
That does this kind of
That does
shit.
this kind of mission because they sure as hell wouldn't do it. But that's where they're fucked up. Back in the 1500s, samurai and soldiers of all description did that kind of stuff. It's just
why wouldn't you? It's a normal
operation for any kind of army that you have to have scouts. You have to have reconnaissance scouts, spies, which is like a scout. That's pretty much the same thing. You also need saboteurs, and you need guys that can do raids, nighttime raids, burn up the enemy supplies. In other words, you're kind of like cheating.
Yeah.
You're sneak attacking and burning up their food to weaken them in the coming days when the battle's going to happen. They're doing that kind of stuff. Well, the samurai didn't think that they would do that, but in the 1500s they did. They're talking about professional soldiers under the command of some local warlord. This warlord trusts them. He's not subcontracting this work out to just random ninja dudes in black suits, that he doesn't know, It's his own men doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm reading this and I'm going, well, shit. For those of you who don't know me, I was I'm a recon soldier. I was with the 1st and 327 Recon Platoon, and I'm a scout. So really, reading this, I found out that I was a ninja.
Who knew?
I'm a fucking ninja. Because that's what I did. So I'm a ninja. I'm the only, I'm one of, there were lots
officially.
of ninjas. I'm officially a ninja now. I'm a ninja. Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly the thing. It just seems like, and shinobi, like I said, as a word, is more like a descriptive word of like an action. Yeah. It's not like talking about the person. That kind of happened later on.
Means like a covert raid, sneak attack.
Yeah. It's, it means to hide or to steal away or something like that.
Covert op.
So that's basically all it was. And then as the years went on, and
you know what might be a good, a word that's very close to it? Raid.
Yeah.
We were raided.
Yeah.
Raiders hit us. We didn't, that's what they're talking, it's kind of like that. Because a raider has to be covert.
Right.
Sneak attack. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, so they're talking about, there are, records of this type of raid or this type of attack going back to like the 12th century. Really the first mentions of like shinobi attacks is from the 15th century. But as you said, as the years went on and people in later centuries, like 17th, 18th century, started reading about these shinobi attacks and started to think that this was a type of person or a type of soldier.
Yeah.
And
they started to kind of like put together a whole mythology.
So a whole legend
and they made it a real thing.
Yeah.
In the same way as the Jedi never existed. But they exist now. You can go to a convention and see one.
Yeah.
Lightsaber and everything.
It's kind of happening like that. Yeah. It's kind of the same kind of thing.
Yeah, there are no Jedi, but they do exist. You can go to any damn Star Wars convention and see one.
Well, and I think now you can technically like have that as your religion also.
And it was based on a samurai. That's where that's where the Jedi came from. Well, the ninjas like that. It's based on professional soldiers of the 1500s, of what they were doing, and then they started to invent something that didn't exist. Yeah. But now it exists.
Well, yeah.
Because in the 1700s and the 1800s, you started seeing dudes in black suits.
Yeah, and
doing this.
By the time the mid-19th century rolled around in Japan, because we didn't really get ninjas in the United States until probably the 60s, it kind of came into like, popular culture. But in the, right about the mid-19th century in Japan, they had already started talking about, like, the shinobi had started to morph into, like, this folklore.
Yeah.
And as the years went on, like, more and more abilities got, attributed to them. It's like, they can become invisible. They can
swallow a whole bull alive.
Ooh, I haven't heard
and then let it go. That's a good one.
Like they could walk on water, or they could make it storm, or they could like do other things like that. So it just seemed like it's one of those things where it started out as like a pretty mundane, like I said, it's just mundane, like covert action as would happen in pretty much any war, any battle ever. And they just kind of built this big mythology around it that just got bigger and bigger and bigger as the years went on.
Where the look came from is because the Japanese, they loved theater in the 1700s and the 1800s. And if you ever see Japanese theater, there's always these stagehands in black changing the sets, or they're doing special effects. Yeah. And the Japanese got really good at kind of filtering these.
Yeah, they're called Kuroko, I think.
Yeah, filtering these stagehands out. They got to where they couldn't see them. Well, sometimes they would depict a sneak attack from a ninja. And it would be one of those guys dressed in black with a sword.
Yeah, just like a stagehand.
Boom, come out of nowhere and start fighting this guy. And you could see the samurai, but you would only see a sword and a man in black on a black background. You really weren't supposed to see the man at all. He was like a hidden figure striking from the darkness. So that slowly morphed into a ninja wore black.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, from everything that I've seen and like the research I've done, that does appear to be where the black suit for the ninja came from.
'Cause I'm
It
telling
came
you.
from theater.
Yeah, it's from theater. Because I'm telling you, as a professional soldier, black is a shitty camouflage. Black doesn't occur in nature. And you just stick out like a sore thumb in daytime and nighttime
Yeah.
against the brush. It's always green. Green is always the best camouflage. And desert, it's always tan. It's
Yeah.
just, you know. And if you don't know where you're going to be, the best camouflage is always just kind of a solid field gray. That works pretty good.
Yeah.
That can work a little bit in everywhere. But, so, no, if there were ninja, they would not be wearing a black suit. They would stand out like crazy. If there was a ninja, he would be dressed like a farmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually reading a couple of articles by these two guys that had written a book about historical ninjas and or ninja. I guess they don't really. You're not supposed
Somebody
to use the
that you would ignore.
But yeah, they're like the whole point of these covert operations were to be undercover. So obviously somebody wearing like a black silk pajamas is gonna like stick out. So they're like normally they would dress like a farmer because they did operations in rural areas, and they would even have like weapons that looked like farm implements and stuff. There's like they didn't have throwing stars, they didn't have swords, they didn't have nothing like that.
If there were modern ninjas today operating in a time of guns, that ninja would be dressed like a cop. Okay,
Probably.
You could move around.
Yeah,
with
no
a
one
weapon,
would really
and
question.
You could start shooting someone in public, and people would be hesitant to call the police because they see a policeman doing it.
Yeah.
So,
It's
not
a-
to give anybody ideas.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole thing is that it's kind of a myth that, because we were just talking about it before we started recording the show, that I was like, you know, all these ninja movies and shit like that came out in the 80s, it's almost like it's this special discipline that you can like go to school and learn, and then like they all wear the black and they have like, you know, the swords and the shuriken and stuff like that. And that really is not the case. It's like they were basically just undercover agents who would be in these rural areas. They would go out ahead of a battle to get information. So they would just dress like a normal person because they obviously didn't want to draw attention to themselves, which you would if you were walking around in that outfit.
Now, here's something else you have to consider. Throughout all these eras, the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s in Japan, they had traitors and they had assassins. They had spies. But these were samurai doing most of this.
Yeah.
But they probably blame shit on the ninja. Check this one out. You got a boss, all right, who he's got an enemy who's another boss. Okay?
Yeah.
That boss approaches you because you're one of his security staff and says, you know, I'll give you all this kind of gold and a job over here in my fiefdom if you kill your boss and get away with it. So what you do is on one of the nights where you're having guard duty, you stab the damn boss with your sword or somebody else's sword or a knife, throw it on the ground, and then call for help. And you say, yeah, I saw a ninja come down out of the sky, out of the damn rafters, stab him, run across the thing, didn't leave any footprints, okay, and jumped down into the moat and ran across the top of the water and vanished.
Yeah.
And they might believe that based on stories of the ninja. They're going, look, it had to be a ninja. There's no footprints. Well, of course, it had to be a ninja. Look, who else could run across the top of that water?
Yeah.
And once it had been a cultural thing, you could use the ninja.
You could use that as like a scapegoat.
You could use it as a cover.
Sure.
Which would cause the ninja stories to proliferate. It would keep it going.
That's actually a good point because you know, you could get away with all kind of stuff and then just be like, ninja, he ran that way.
So, because there were some crazy ass
I didn't even see him coming.
Crazy ass stories about the ninja running silently and faster than a man can run. They could cover 150 miles a day. They could run across the top of water. They could climb up sheer walls. Those stories had to come from lies.
Yeah. Or, you know, like I said, and we've done a few episodes about kind of like urban legends or folklore and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of exactly what the modern conception of the ninja is. It's just this kind of, you know, they're basically a fictional character that was built on kind of like, you know, a normal mundane part of battle or part of war or whatever. And then as it went on, it just seemed like it became like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then if people started thinking they were real, then people would attribute, like you said, they would attribute shit to ninjas, and then people would believe that, and then the stories would get bigger and bigger.
If you were a trusted bodyguard, they never really believed that you did it. They'd rather believe that a ninja did it, and that a ninja doesn't leave footprints, and that a ninja can run across the top of the water, because that's what they heard.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, it had to be a ninja. It couldn't have been you. Had to be a ninja. There's no footprints.
Yeah, he's like, of course
there's no footprints.
I would never do such a thing.
And, you know, and the lack of evidence would be the proof.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's what I'm getting at. The lack of evidence would be the proof that it was a ninja in the thinking of those days.
Yeah, and that they had, like, you know,
supernatural
powers.
Right.
Which a lot of them were supposed to have. I mean, especially...
And I guarantee you it came from these stories of murders that they couldn't damn explain. Yeah. Because they didn't want to blame the person who was...
Even though they really did it.
Well, he might have been a powerful person that's probably the murderer. So you couldn't accuse him. So you had to make up an excuse. Yeah, it was them damn ninjas.
Yeah. They're so sneaky. They just
so sneaky.
They just went,
yes, my lord, I know you didn't do it. I know you didn't kill your wife. Yeah, that kind of stuff. The ninjas did. The ninjas did.
I'm just going to start blaming everything.
You want me to bring that girl you've been seeing in? The girl you've been seeing lately. You want to bring her in? Okay.
I'm going to blame everything on ninjas.
Yeah, it's just some shit like that probably caused ninja myth to grow and sustain itself.
So I feel like probably, I mean, because like we were saying, the whole black suit thing, which probably came from the theater, the first depiction of a ninja in that black suit in artwork was by the artist Hokusai, and that was in the early 19th century.
So not old.
Yeah, really not that old. And like I said, they weren't even calling it ninja until the 19th century. Like before that, it was always shinobi. Yeah. And like you said, there was a video game called Shinobi that was about that too. But so by the time that...
You always use that as a code word for some girl's tits. If she had big tits, she got some serious shinobis on there. We used to say that.
Shinobis?
Yeah, we used to say this shit in high school. So yeah, code words.
Did you know what it meant?
We knew what it meant.
Oh, okay.
They didn't know. Serious shinobis. Like, yeah.
Although if you say it like that, it sounds pretty obvious.
We were fucking teenagers. We were teenagers, you know.
The context of it. We would look at the shinobis on her. I'm like, I wonder what
we
they could be talking about.
Yeah. We were saying it to each other, you know.
I mean, her ponytails. Yeah. But yeah, so by the time that the whole ninja myth kind of got transferred over to the United States, I mean, it was already like a pretty full-blown mythology in Japan.
Yeah.
I really don't think... I think, you know, the thing that kicked off the ninja craze, even though it took, you know, quite a while for it to kind of come into full flower, I guess, but was You Only Live Twice, the James Bond... Well, the novel and then the movie. It started to
spread out of Japan. It went into Australia with some TV shows. And then...
they had ninja shit before we had ninja
Ian
shit.
Fleming got on it, wrote a book about it, and some people knew about it, but really what brought it into the mainstream was You Only Live Twice, James Bond.
Yeah.
And karate, you know, that was already here. So it kind of dovetailed in nicely with some of these martial arts stuff that was already going. If you look at the cheesy portrayals of martial arts through the 50s and the 60s, it's pretty fucking cheesy. And You know, I mean, it's like the fighting that Kirk did in fucking the original Star Trek.
He's fighting the Gorn.
That's the way it was portrayed. That's the way it was kind of portrayed, but it was, you know, it captured the imagination, I guess. And You Only Live Twice came out, and Bond goes to like a ninja training school and then fights some bad guys who have an army of ninjas, basically.
I wish I had an army of ninjas.
And then it went full steam after that, you know. But then there was also kung fu movies and karate movies and Bruce Lee and all that stuff was happening at the same time.
Opened all of the... It kind of opened the floodgates, really. I mean, like all the kung fu movies and stuff. But I think that was kind of the first mainstream exposure.
But the ninja angle is that they had a damn practitioner of ninjutsu in Japan who was who trained the team for that movie. What was his name again? I think you got it written down.
The purple-haired guy?
The purple-haired guy.
Masaki Hatsumi.
Yeah, Hatsumi.
Or although I've also seen it Hatsumi Masaki,
yeah,
so one away or the other.
In Japanese, the last name is first.
Is first, yeah.
Yeah, Hatsumi, this guy, he made a lot of... He was popular even in Japan.
Yeah.
Before James Bond movie came out. And he claimed to be from a long lineage of ninja, and that he wrote a bunch of books and claimed to have a bunch of old manuscripts about him, which maybe he did, but I don't think they were as old as he was saying that they were.
Yeah.
He was a martial artist, but I think I'd have to say he was a fake ninja. He was a fake ninja, and the Japanese bought it.
Yeah.
And so did the Americans.
I think when he first started out, he actually started out, he was born in the 30s. He started out in judo, and that's what he was teaching. And I think that he actually taught American soldiers in Japan. He taught them judo, like in his younger years.
Okay.
So, and after that, he kind of went on and he found like a teacher to sort of expand out his stuff. But he apparently learned a bunch of ninjutsu styles and spent like many years like learning how to do that.
Or invented these ninjutsu styles.
Could be.
There's a lot of questionable shit in all this stuff. And a lot of the stories and a lot of the things that he said and wrote down ended up being repeated over and over again, even in the fake ninjas of the United States. In other words, they all started telling similar birth stories and similar creation stories to how they became a ninja. And there's just things like death touches and shit like. Well, I think we can get more into it.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about
kumites. Kumite is a fight, is a
we'll
sparring
have to talk
match.
about
We're going to get into all that.
When we talk about Bloodsport.
He seemed to be the source of a lot of this.
Yeah.
Bullshido.
Even though he wasn't a bullshitter himself. He was actually a martial artist. He did actually teach. He did judo, aikido, all that.
He's a real martial artist.
He is a real martial artist.
But
he did teach people.
But I'm pretty sure he was a fake ninja, though.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of his shit was like exaggerated a little bit. It's like the ancient, all the ancient art of I've come from a long line of ninjas and stuff like that. That's probably exaggeration, but he's not like a dude that just like made shit up out of whole cloth like some of the some of these people do.
From my understanding, it was stuff that he dug up and attributed to ninja, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's
not that important, and he's not that important in the history of American ninjutsu.
Yeah, we bring him up because
he's kind of the source of a lot of it.
Yeah, he came up on a lot of like when I was looking at like martial arts frauds and all this kind of stuff. He kind of comes up as not necessarily a fraud himself, but as the inspiration for a lot of frauds that came later on. Like,
it's like the prototype.
Yeah, even though
these
he's
frauds
not
used.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. He was the prototype that these frauds used.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's funny because of the channel we were watching, The Pink Man, where he's talking about what a bunch of bullshit Black Belt magazine is. And, like, how they put, like, a lot of these fraudsters, like, on their covers and stuff like that, which I think was kind of funny. But, like I said, back in the old days, you had
no way of checking.
You didn't really have much of a way of checking. It's like it's much harder to get away with this kind of crap nowadays. People still attempt it. I don't know why they do, but I don't know why you would try to like make up this whole entire story. I could see why people would do it back in the day because you could probably get away with it. Like, especially like making up like the military records or making up like all this shit.
People did not envision an internet and a place where people could actually investigate and find out somebody's background. Yeah. It's easy to do now. But not back in the day. So you could lie your ass off. But we can get to Black Belt Magazine, I think. That we probably ought to talk about Count Dante, I would think.
Yeah, we are going to talk about Count Dante. But, you want to talk about Count Dante now?
What do you have next on the timeline?
That's probably the next thing. I just had like a little bit more about Hatsumi, and just like I said, he was basically, like I said, he was actually a legit martial artist. He was a martial arts advisor on You Only Live Twice. Yeah. And on some other like Japanese shows that were like martial arts shows and things like that. So, like I said, he's not so much a bullshitter, but a lot of the bullshitters that came out after him, were kind of inspired by him, I suppose. And he wrote like a shit ton of books as well.
Yeah.
But so let's talk about
Count Dante.
Count Dante.
Okay, I'm gonna talk my experiences with Count Dante.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, in the 70s, we'd have all these comic books, and in the back of these comic books, there would be these ads for Count Dante. You can show them the picture of it. It looked like a damn vampire. A vampire with an evil beard, with a fucking cape, and his fucking hands out like this, and he's got a fucking afro, and it looks kind of like Blackula. Remember fucking?
I was gonna say he
like
looks very much like Blackula, even though he's a white guy.
He's a white guy. And he didn't have an afro, but he made it look like he had an afro.
Yeah, it was just like a round.
Yeah, and it was one of the coolest looking pictures of all times. And I saw it recently.
It is a cool ad. I like it.
And that was Count Dante. And Count Dante was selling training. He's the most dangerous man alive,
Yeah.
And he was making all these promises about, how much of a badass he could make you just if you bought his books, And he talked about the dim mock, the fucking poison hand, the death touch. You could just kill somebody just touching them, And this shit all just kind of plays in with the comic book culture of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Alongside those ads, you would also see ads for shit like Charles Atlas dynamic tension cartoons about buy this pamphlet and you can get fucking huge, like Charles Atlas. Now, I remember those I remember those ads.
I do too.
But I don't know when they stopped running. They were within my lifetime. But I thought they made him stop doing. I don't know what year they made him stop doing that. So some of these comic books I was seeing might have been from the 60s, from the late 60s.
Yeah.
But I remember that comic book about the big guys kicking sand in the little dude's face. And
that's a very, very famous.
Yeah, that's
the 98-pound weekly.
Yeah, I believe that was an Atlas.
I think it was too. Yeah.
All right, and the reason why I mentioned that is because as we kind of delve into this fake ninjutsu, fake martial arts, you're gonna hear over and over again, dim mock, the death touch, kumite. Okay? And you're going to hear dynamic tension. Because every one of these fake ninjas fucking claims to do Charles Atlas dynamic tension.
Yeah.
All right? Which is funny, you know what I mean? Because they're being inspired by what was in the back of the comic books. That's where a lot of this ninjutsu's coming from. It's coming from fucking comic books, Daredevil comic books and stuff.
I do feel like there's a lot of that going on. And like I said, much like the way the ninja, started out as like normal shit and then it just got like all this folkloric shit like added onto it. I kind of feel like this started out a similar kind of way. It started out kind of like as a fictional story and then like people started thinking it was real.
Yeah, and don't for 1 second. Okay, here... Charles Atlas really was a bodybuilder. He was an early 1950s bodybuilder. Okay, but he didn't get big. He wasn't that very impressive by today's standards, but he didn't get that big doing dynamic tension. Same thing with Eugen Sandow. Eugen Sandow, he was pretty big back in the 1800s, and he sold people little 5-pound weights at his show and told them to just do that like 200 times, and then like the next day do 201 like a shake weight. You'll get huge like me. He didn't get big like that either. That's just what you sold to the rubes. And really, all these little training pamphlets from Count Dante were the same thing. They were like these. They were kind of like the shake weight or the 5-pound weight or the dynamic tension. They were a fake product that you sold to kids or to really weak people. Okay, and it kind of acted as a way of getting your name out there. You could make a lot of money off of rubes, and okay. There's kind of like, okay, trying to find a good way to put it. Bullshit sells a lot better than hard training. Okay?
Well, obviously.
The average person doesn't want to deal with any kind of pain or adversity. You know what I mean? So you could sell them like a quick fix. You could sell a lot of that, and then they'll quickly forget about it. Just like if you're fucking fat, all right? It's hard to lose all that weight. So why don't you just, drink Diet Coke and eat whatever you want.
That'll fix it.
That'll fix it. All right? Same thing. if you're a little skinny dude that's getting beat up, all right, you really should go to the gym, fucking put on about 30, 40 pounds of weight, but that takes time, okay, and then a lot of hard work. But what if I just told you I can teach you a way where you can just touch a big dude and bring him to his knees.
And he'll die.
And he'll die, or bring you his death and bring him to his knees. You got a lot of suckers that'll go for that. Fake training, okay?
Well, it's an appealing... Like you said, it's an appealing thing because it's like you feel like it'll give you power and you don't have to like really work for it.
Right. Well, dynamic tensions like that, okay? The dim mock death touch and all the fucking fake martial arts is like that.
I kind of feel like every single diet pill and every single
like
exercise thing they sell on TV, even now, is like that. Because it's like, look, they always have like in these like infomercials and stuff, it's like they'll have a super fit, like a fitness model in there saying that they got that body just by doing like this little thing for 5 minutes a day. That is such bullshit.
That's not how that happened.
That did not happen.
Yeah, like dynamic tension.
That's not what made that body.
Dynamic tension is like you're trying to pull one arm down and using the other arm to pull it up. One muscle working on the other, and they'll convince you can get huge that way. You won't. You can't.
No, obviously.
No. And then like now some of it will work. You know, I guess you could say push-ups is dynamic tension. But I did thousands of those things in the Army, millions of them. You don't really get... You get a little bit of endurance, but you'll never get the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger. You never get big.
Not just push-ups, no.
Dips and the upside-down damn handstands, push-ups. No, you don't start gaining a bunch of muscle until you start slinging at least 250 pounds of weight. Then it starts coming on. But, you know. So it's just a quick fix. It's a bullshit fix. So let's go back to Count Dante and who this guy is. Because this guy was really interesting. And in a way, you could call him a fraud and a fake. But in another way, he was actually, I think, a key player in martial arts. And he was, in a way, very ahead of his time. And unlike some of these other guys, he could actually fight.
Yeah, he actually did train as a martial artist. Yeah. He wasn't like just some...
Yeah, he was a real martial artist.
Yeah.
Very flamboyant, a lot of charisma.
Yeah, and that's and you know, also some kind of exciting.
And he was a wild man.
Crime and stuff later on too. So
he gets out of the army and decides he wants to be an army of one and make his own, go into fucking karate. And eventually he doesn't like that, so he makes his own dojo, and then he gets in charge of karate, and then he's running martial arts events. And and here's the weird thing: he was also a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hairdresser, and in his manual,
because his beard is like super elaborate and crazy. It's like it's just this pointy.
He's a hairdresser. He also was like a part owner in a porn shop, and there was something else that he was involved in. But he lived in Chicago, and once he got his own dojo, he called it the Black Dragon Fighting Society, and he left the Green Dragon Fighting Society. That was one of the ones that he was in before. Now, evidently, it was a bunch of cops. In the Green Dragon Society, but he started doing his own thing, and fights broke out, and there was something called the Dojo Wars, and he was a survivor of the Dojo Wars. A dude actually got killed in it. Got stabbed with a fucking sword, run through. Yeah. But then the judge dropped the charges though because it was kind of self-defense. They ran into these. He tried to set blasting caps around Green Dragon's dojos to blow the glass out. Evidently, they thought he robbed a safe, and a bunch of money disappeared. I think he might have sold over $1 million. He was a wild dude, man.
This guy, man.
He was a wild dude, and this is back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And he was doing all these interviews about, karate's for pussies, and that it's not full contact. Well, here's the funny thing is that in his ads, it said that he was chosen because he was in a championship and he defeated all these different styles. He was a champion of all martial arts. And really what they're describing is the kumite. And this thing keeps coming up over and over again. They even make a movie about it called Bloodsport.
Yeah. Which was based on Frank Dukes, which we're going to...
Frank Dukes' lives.
We're going to talk about him later.
Okay? We're going to get to that. So... in a way, a lot of this blood sport, a lot of this fighting to the death, no holds barred, nowadays you'd call it mixed martial arts, actually came from Count Dante.
He does seem like kind of a pivotal figure.
Yeah. He kind of put it out there in the fucking zeitgeist that there should be a no-holds-barred, full-contact sparring with no pads, and people could possibly get killed. And even when I was a kid, the concept of that was like criminal.
Yeah.
You can't do that, man. That's against the law.
Yeah.
And little did I know, a few years later, they came out with UFC, which was exactly that.
Yeah. Well,
and then
that's what everybody
MMA.
wanted to see.
So, in a way, this guy's kind of foreshadowing MMA in the same way that Bruce Lee was kind of wanting an MMA type situation. In fact, seemingly, or according to witnesses, Bruce Lee went and saw some of the events that Count Dante threw and actually saw Count Dante do stuff. Now, some people say that he wasn't all that good, but that he was very aggressive. Some people that trained with him said, no, he was very good.
Yeah.
But he even tried to get a job in Hollywood, but they said he wouldn't pull his punches. He would actually hit people for real. So they thought he was a lunatic.
Wanted it to look realistic.
Yeah, so they just considered him to be a lunatic, and they got rid of him.
So he's like, yeah, we're going to turn the camera on this guy and just let him punch people in the face all day long.
So that's Count Dante. What do you tell us about?
I mean, he's actually, that's not his real name. Obviously, he changed it to that later on.
Yeah.
His real name is John Timothy Kieron.
Yeah.
Kieron. And like you said, he was from Chicago. Now, he was in the military. He was in the Marine Reserves, and then he was in the Army. So he learned like jiu-jitsu and hand-to-hand combat and shit like that. And he did train under like a bunch of different martial arts masters during the 1950s. And after he left, he ended up being, for a while, he was like the Midwest director of the U.S. Karate Association. Yeah. And then he went off and formed the World Karate Federation. And he was actually one of the first, I think he was a co-promoter on the first full contact martial arts tournament, which was at the University of Chicago in 1963. So he ended up like you said, he was really ahead of his time. Yeah. Now, what he didn't like though was that, and the reason he wanted to get more into, like you said, what they would call today like MMA fighting and stuff, is that he thought that martial arts was too much about the art of it or the protocol of it,
style,
or the stylization of it, where he wanted to just, he's like, I don't want to have like all these like different traditions of it. He's like, I just want to use what's effective, like for street fighting, what he called street effective. So he wanted to come up with something, that was just, that you could use in a fight instead of just like in a tournament type
and
of
in
situation.
the pre-internet age, this was quite hard. Nowadays, you could just go to MMA, or you could compare notes over YouTube and see what these other styles can do, and But back before the internet, you actually had to meet, and you had to fight these different styles against one another, and that had never really been done. So this is like ahead of its time. The idea is that let's get all these styles together, fighting each other, and find out which ones work.
Yeah, and then that's basically what he was doing.
And then we'll take the ones that will work, and we'll get rid of the shit inside them that doesn't work, and adopt new stuff. We'll make the ultimate martial art. That's kind of what he was shooting for. Yeah. And you could say Bruce Lee wanted the same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So what Count Dante ended up coming up with was what he called the Dante system, or the Dance of Death, or Kata Dante. Yeah. So, it was just all these, things that you went through. Now, he actually ended up changing his name to Count Dante. Actually, Count Juan Rafael Dante.
Yeah, he had this
in 1967, because he had this whole story about how his parents, who were actually Irish American, I believe, and were actually fairly wealthy, or upper middle class. But he had this whole story about how they fled Spain during the Spanish Civil War, and they were of noble heritage and all this other stuff. I think he actually got the name from Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so that was his whole story, trying to think. And like you said, he had all these stories too about how he'd been in Thailand and China, and he had fought his way through 1,000 dudes, and
that's the story of Bloodsport.
Yeah, that's the kumite type of thing. Yeah. Now, around that time was when he started running his comic book ads, billing himself as the deadliest man alive. Yeah. And you would send away for his little booklet. Yeah. That I don't know how much it cost, probably 5 cents or something back in the old days.
I saw one booklet, it was awesome. At the end, he's teaching how to, this death touch and how to fuck people up. And at the very end, he's got a picture of himself, like, cutting a woman's hair, and she's got this beautiful woman with her hair all done. And it says, just think, these hands could destroy you, or they can create, things of beauty. He's trying to get yin yang, the yin yang thing, create a master of creation and a master of destruction. You know what I mean? That's what he's trying.
I like it. I respect the game.
Yeah.
I respect
it was like to be a complete man, you had to be a creator and a destroyer. I love that kind of shit, man. It goes back to fucking Rome. Yeah, ancient Roman thinking. Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, so you would get this little booklet that was telling you how to do like Dim Mak, which was the death touch.
Yeah.
And you'd also get like a little membership card to his Black Dragon Fighting Society. I love the fucking, and even his Wikipedia page had like a little pull-out quote from one of the ads, and I love it. You can't really see it because it's just in my notes, but there's like the capitalization, like you can just imagine where the capitalization is. But it says shit like, "This is the deadliest and most terrifying fighting art known to man, and without equal, its maiming, mutilating, disfiguring, paralyzing, and crippling techniques are known by only a few people in the world. An expert at Dim Mak could easily kill many judo, karate, kung fu, aikido, and gung fu experts at one time with only fingertip pressure using his murderous poison hand weapons."
Yeah.
Instructing you step by step through each move in this manual is none other than Count Dante, the deadliest man who ever lived.
Now, what 15-year-old boy would not buy that book?
That's pretty irresistible, I have to say.
Yeah.
Poison hand weapons. Sign me up. Yeah, so you mentioned before the dojo wars. So let's
Hold on, let me say some stuff about.
All right.
I dug up some more stuff about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. One of the things about Count Dante is that Count Dante would take students of any race, which that wasn't being done in these dojos.
Yeah, shit was still segregated back then.
Now, some of his contemporaries, like in the Green Dragons, were saying that, well, he wasn't doing that because he cared about those people. He just wanted the money. He was, abusing those people. No, there were actually, I saw some videos of black guys that were at his school. And they said they fucking loved it. All right? The real deal of the story is that because he was ex-service, he was already came up from a training environment where it was all races of guys because the services were integrated already. Yeah. So the whole idea of taking a black or Hispanic student, that just wasn't an issue for him. So he was, ahead of his time for the 60s. And then another story that I have is that a black student tried to show up, and he was wearing his judo gi when he showed up. And when he walked in the door, all the guys in there jumped up to their feet. Count Dante was there, and they all went into a defensive position and tried to start going towards him, like to attack him. And then he backed out and scooted out, and he realized that he didn't mean it, but because he was from another dojo and he just showed up unannounced like that, they thought they were under attack. Because of the dojo wars.
From one guy, yeah.
Yeah, because of the dojo wars. Okay.
This is some serious shit.
He didn't think about it at the time. He just walked in there because he
just walked in and he
show up in uniform. You know what I mean? He said he was so embarrassed that he didn't go back.
Oh.
The guy he wanted to go there.
Get that.
So he was so embarrassed he didn't go back because he fucked up.
Like I said, they were taking this shit pretty seriously in the fucking 60s, man. Yeah. So the dojo wars, this actually happened in 1965, and Count Dante actually ended up getting charged with attempted arson. Yeah. Now it was him and his buddy, whose name was Douglas Dwyer, who was the second deadliest man alive. They actually got arrested while, like you said, they were taping dynamite caps, blasting caps to a rival dojo in Chicago. Yeah. Now, nothing blew up. They caught them while they were taping them there. Now, they both said that they were drunk and they were not really aware of what they were doing.
It was over money.
Or something like that. But yeah.
Money and insults, it was a war.
Yeah, basically, later on, like Count Dante said, it was because, I guess that dojo owner like owed him some money for like
Yeah.
some competition or something. He hadn't paid him, and there was like this big rivalry going on. And apparently this kind of like escalated over the next 5 years, because 5 years later, Count Dante and some of his little acolytes
Yeah.
went over to the Green Dragon Society's, their Black Cobra Hall
Yeah.
dojo,
Yeah.
and
Started trying
came
to bust the
in.
place up.
Yeah, they came in, said they were cops, and
Yeah.
then started beating on the other students. Now, we laugh, but actually the fight ended up, like, a guy ended up dying.
Yeah.
Like, a
One-
friend of Count Dante's.
Green Dragon grabbed a sword, jumped up, and ran him through. And as he was dying, he's going, run, run. He told them to all go, and they all, run. He was brave to the end.
I guess.
Told
But
him to run.
it's like, it seems like, even though it did go to trial and stuff like that,
It
it
got
ended up,
dismissed.
it kind of got dismissed. Like, the judge just, the Wikipedia page says the judge just gave everyone a stern talking to.
Yeah. Well, it was
Stop it, you guys.
It was self-defense. They were they were the aggressors.
True.
They went in there beating people up, and somebody defended himself and killed the guy, and they just called it even. The judge said that they were all at fault, that they were all lunatics.
Yeah. Which it
Yeah,
does kind of
lunatics,
sound like
yeah.
that. Now, it is also speculated, it's never been proved, but there was this guy named Robert Cooley who was a mob lawyer back at the time, and he wrote a book later, and he said that he thought that maybe Count Dante was the guy behind there was like a big robbery in like a vault robbery in Chicago in 1974, which over $4 million was stolen, and so he thinks that maybe Count Dante was like not the only guy, but that he was like the mastermind behind that thing. Now he was questioned on that, but he passed a polygraph, so they let him go.
Pretty much everybody says that he had friends that organized crime. They were like black organized crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he was friends with them.
Well, that's why
yeah.
he got away with all this stuff.
Yeah, and now
But
whether
yeah.
or not he was doing crime with them, I'm going to say probably, but not, but
Sounds
can't
like
prove
something
it.
he'd do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he actually he ended up dying like before the trial was even over. Like the
Yeah,
trial
here's the
for
weirdest thing. He died a young man. I think he was, 37?
He died in 1975.
27, 37?
And I think, what year was he born? Let's look.
he
He was born in 1939.
Died of stomach ulcers. An ulcer broke loose in his stomach. He lost all his blood. Internal bleeding.
Yeah, that's a
Now-
bad way to go.
Reason why all that happened, though, is because I think he was pushing himself pretty hard, and had a lot of injuries from what he was doing. Because they said that, he trained hard. So he was taking pain medication to deal with the damage that he was doing to himself. And he started drinking on top of the pain medication, and pain medication and booze, they magnify one another. So I think he got addicted to that.
They don't mix.
Probably screwed up his stomach lining or something, and that's contributed to his death.
Yeah, he had bleeding ulcers. And,
Yeah.
So internal hemorrhaging.
But he was a wild guy. I would have liked to have hung out with him, I think,
He does seem like he'd be a blast.
Yeah,
if you could keep him from like punching you in the face.
Yeah. He had this big brown Cadillac, and he put his the Dante coat of arms on the doors. And he went some 7-Eleven or something and stepped out, and some guys started making fun of him. They called him a fag. So he beat their asses over that.
They're like, who's the bitch now?
Because he had his coat of arms on the doors. The car.
He was definitely like a dandy type of guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, wore a fantastic outfits. Everybody that trained with him said that he trained hard and that he had a larger than life personality, a tremendous charisma.
Yeah.
And it's just that, what he was doing, they had inner city black guys from Chicago that had no purpose, were finding a purpose there. And they had also, ex-military guys, So it was kind of like a fraternal order and a warrior cult at the same time. And it was very cultish.
Yeah.
Very much like a cult.
I feel like this kind of thing, it's like easily spills over into that.
Yeah, it was like a dojo from a kung fu movie.
Yeah.
Or where they were training in there, and it was a gym, and they had all these damn weapons, and I think they even said guns were in there too. I don't know if they were shooting them, but guns in there, and then they were going out fighting other dojos and trying to figure out how to make money And then, they had it's kind of like a criminal cult.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
I guess it is. It's kind of like the mafia.
Kind of like a little mafia.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Count Dante's claims about Dim Mak.
Yeah.
Because this is he's not the only person to say that this is possible. Obviously, this kind of goes back in Asian, Chinese, and Japanese kind of folklore for a long time, that there are particular places that you can touch or strike on a human body that will either kill a person immediately or will have a delayed killing, like it'll kill you like 10 days later. Yeah, and like some people are saying that's what happened to Bruce Lee. Yeah, right. That like that somebody
Dim Mak got him.
Some Dim Mak, and then like a few days later he died. Which it actually, if it did work, that'd be like the perfect plausible deniability, wouldn't it?
If that worked, it would work all the time, and people would be dying from it, just in car accidents, and
that's what you would think.
You'd fall down and touch yourself the wrong way.
Yeah.
And die from Dim Mak 2 days later.
That's the thing. It's like it's kind of muddies the waters because in case you were curious, where Dim Mak comes from is actually, I think in Chinese it means press artery or something like that.
Yeah, see, that's almost getting into George Dillman with the fucking pressure points.
Yeah, we'll get into that too, because he was another guy that claimed he could do this, like in a different sort of way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like this thing where it has to do with like acupuncture and pressure points and all that kind of stuff, which is, kind of bullshit. But there's like a tiny, tiny, tiny little molecule of like truth in there somewhere, because there is, if you hit somebody like above their heart in a very particular way at a very particular time in their heartbeat cycle, then that can kill them. You know what I mean? But you have to get it just right. And it has to be like, the circumstances have to be like exactly perfect or exactly, horrifically wrong, depending on how you want to look at it. It will give you a cardiac arrest, but it's not really the same as like sneaking up and like doing a Vulcan death pinch on somebody and having them like immediately keel over, or keel over later on when you're like, oh, you'll be dead in a little while. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. So
I bet you they got the Vulcan death pinch and fucking nerve pinch. They probably got that from Dim Mak.
I think they did, because if you look,
Dim Mak got it from that.
Because Dim Mak, like I said, that concept has been around, I think, since the 12th century or 13th century or something. There've been, I don't know if it was called that, but it was like a similar kind of thing. So it goes back like a long way. Like I said, it's tied in with Chinese acupuncture. So I feel like that's probably where they got the idea. And obviously it became like a big cultural thing. It's been in like a bunch of movies, not even like martial arts movies. That's, it's been in a lot of martial arts movies too, but there's been a lot of other movies that have reference to that. You know what I mean? Like, or all the different like way. But I feel like it's kind of, as I said, it's kind of tied in with acupuncture, and it's also kind of tied in with like people's chi. Yeah. Which again is getting into like kind of charlatan and kind of territory. But it's like, I love kind of some of the shit that they've come up with, like in movies, like where they talk about like the 5-point exploding heart technique and all this other kind of shit. One of my favorite things on the Wikipedia page, like I said, if you look up Dim Mak on Wikipedia, where they're talking about Fist of the North Star, the manga. And I love this last sentence where he says, the protagonist of the story will often end a battle stating how much time the opponent has left to live after delivering the finishing move, like he does the death touch on him. Then he says how much time he has left to live. He says, or he'll follow up with his famous catchphrase, "You are already dead," before his opponent dies, usually from violently exploding. That just like made me laugh so fucking hard. But yeah, so there's all kind of, quivering palm death touch. That was from Thomas Pynchon novel. I think even like fucking remember that old Quincy M.E. TV show about the medical examiner with fucking whatever that dude's name was? I can't remember what the actor's name is right now. Yeah, but they even did one about, and that was like back in the fucking 70s, I think it's 1977. Yeah. They did one called Touch of Death about somebody that got killed with Dim Mak. And like I said, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more when we talk about fucking George Dillman, because that dude, man, That's that's like his whole thing. But all right, so we're at about an hour, so we are going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about more Bullshido, including talking about George Dillman,
Ashida Kim.
Frank Dukes, and the wonderful,
Ashida Kim. Yeah.
delightful
Yeah.
Ashida Kim.
Yeah.
I'm totally putting videos of this guy in there because I just found this so funny. So we will talk about that when we get back.
Get that little mint baby, Pookie. Get it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Right? You're fighting back. It's fighting back. It's getting away from you, Katie. Get it, Cookie. Get it. It's like, meh. Huh? What's that? What's that? Yeah, that one's got catnip on it. Oh, that one's good too, huh? That one's good too. Mint and catnip. You're so spoiled. You get all the fun toys. Get it, get it, get it.
You love true crime. I love true crime. And I've spent the last 3 years compiling a series of the most intriguing unsolved murders of the 20th century. It's called The Faceless Villain, and Volume 3 is available now. Featuring such fascinating cases as the Ketty murders, the Carrie Babies case, the Frog Boys, the Alcasar murders, and the Inokashira Park dismemberment incident, The Faceless Villain Volume 3 is an involving exploration of unsolved slayings spanning the years from 1980 to 1999. Pick up your copy in print or ebook formats on Amazon, or download the audiobook version from audible.com, and get ready for a chilling journey through modern crime history. All right, we're back. Now.
Yeah. Now it's time to talk about Ashida Kim.
Let's talk about Ashida Kim. This is my favorite, you guys.
Ashida Kim is like, I would probably say one of the biggest, first and the biggest American straight up ninjas.
Yeah.
Count Dante was ninja-like, but he wasn't a ninja. He didn't dress like a ninja.
Yeah, I don't
This guy
think he didn't
dresses
even
like
really
a-
claim to be a ninja,
No.
did he? I
No.
mean, this guy, Ashida Kim, he's this little bitty scrawny dude with glasses.
Looks like John Denver.
He's still alive. He's in his
Yeah,
70s
yeah.
now. But, I mean, he is self-published.
He claims to be 5'6". He probably weighs about 135 pounds.
Yeah, he's he's a
Yeah.
small dude. But so he's written like a shit ton of self-published books, all of which are about ninja secrets, some of which are also erotic fiction.
There's about 200 of them, so
Sort of.
he's a prolific writer.
Yeah, I mean,
now they're not big. You're talking 100-page pamphlets, really,
yeah.
and they kind of fall into that same realm of little training manual that you sell. You know what I mean, to kind of like kids, and little adult adventure novels that are 108 pages long. They're bizarre. And then he also sells videos, and you can see them for free on YouTube.
I'm going to put some of them.
Yeah, I've watched them, man.
Because, oh dear.
Man, there's something else.
Well, there's something kind of like, there's this
Something
dude
kind
is
of
like,
comforting about...
well, there's something
Well,
kind of
that's
comforting, but there's also something kind of sad about him because I think maybe he might be a crazy person.
I don't know.
I'm
He
not
might be a crazy
really sure because he seems like really, really
Well, let's
a
get
little delusional.
Well, let's get into what he does first, and then we'll talk
Yeah,
about that.
I mean,
because
here's the thing.
you got to
like,
give him the evidence. first.
yeah, there's like not a great deal known about this dude because it's like I've seen his real name is usually, I mean, obviously Ashida Kim is not
No.
his real name because that's like
No,
that's
he's
like
gotta
Japanese and Korean.
Yeah,
It's like,
Kim. Yeah, she's a Kim.
but so I've seen his real name given as either Radford William Davis or I've also seen it as Christopher Hunter. It's no one seems really sure.
Most people think it's Radford.
Yeah, what his real name is. I usually see him as Radford Davis. But he's kind of like the best known... I mean, if you do martial arts fraud, Google martial arts fraud, and he's pretty much the first
one that comes
the
up.
one that comes up because he's the most infamous.
Yeah. Now, the weird thing about this guy is that he's another one that he was running little ads in Black Belt Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his own website that you could buy his products from.
Yeah.
You can't buy them from Amazon or anything. They got to go straight from him. I checked. He uses the Black Dragon Fighting Society's logos from Count Dante.
Yeah.
But turns out he got sued for that.
Yeah, he had to take his website down for a time because of that.
Because he's claimed an affiliation, but he doesn't seem to have an affiliation.
Right.
Okay, but he did that for years. And not only him, but Frank Dukes. Frank Dukes.
Yeah. Not Dux, even though that's what it
Dukes.
looks like.
But D-U-X to me is Dux, not Dukes.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure it probably is Dux. But he's like, no, it's Dukes.
Yeah. So
because
Frank
that sounds
Dukes
better than Dux.
Also claimed to be in the Black Dragon Fighting Society because they read the same comic books I read. And they were like, oh shit, if we claim to
that sounds badass.
If we claim to be part of that association, everyone will know we're for real. Even though, most people remember it just from the fucking comic books.
From the comic books.
I had no idea that Count Dante was a real person until recently. I remember that ad.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't think that, would you? Because he was the way he was like put across in the ad, he seemed like
something that's made up.
A fictional character. Yeah. But that was a real guy.
It was a real guy. And evidently he was legendary in the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I saw an interview with a guy from England. And they saw those same ads and heard stories, but there was no way to really check. And they were just like, well, of course, it's America. They got guys like that in America, Cowboys.
And we did.
And ninjas and shit. We did, yeah. And you look at that picture, and you would think that of Count Dante, and you would think, like, nah, it's bullshit. Nobody's like that. But according to people that knew him and look at his history, no, he was all that and more.
I believe it.
He was all that and more.
I believe it.
Yeah. So let's get to Ashida Kim. Ashida Kim claims to be a part of that, or claimed at one time to be a part of that Black Dragon Fighting Society. Yeah. But he's not. He's a self-made, homegrown ninja. He claims to have a history that somebody taught him how to do it. I don't remember how he. Do you remember his origin story?
I don't even remember what his. Well, he says that he's pretty much can do everything, like every martial art. He says that he's a 10th degree black belt in what one article said, in a form of ninjutsu no one has ever heard of.
Okay, yeah.
But he actually, as crazy as this guy might be, he did seem at least to have the wherewithal to see the whole ninja craze in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the first guy to really take advantage of that in a big way, like turning out a lot of these books, claiming that he was himself a ninja, that he could teach you to be a ninja, and that all you had to do was like buy his books, his pamphlets and his videos. Yeah. So in that sense, he did seem like kind of a savvy business, but I don't know how much money he made over the years on it. He also kind of operated, as far as I understand, kind of like a black belt certificate mill.
Yeah, you could. He claimed that if you sent him videos showing proof of your expertise in any kind of fighting style, he'd give you credentials for it.
Yeah.
And there is a martial arts site that calls bullshit on these guys called Bullshido.
Yeah.
All right, and the guys on Bullshido said I bet you he'd give you credentials without seeing any evidence at all.
If you paid him, I'm sure he would. Him. So and I've seen like the certificate that is like,
Yeah,
it's
so
like
they tested him. The guy said he was a fantastic black belt of some kind of fake martial art, or a martial art that doesn't have belts. And without any sight unseen, without any evidence, he quickly sent him a diploma as a black belt in that. Balikudo, I think, is what the name of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Balikudo.
I remember him saying that.
And then they confronted him. They say, "Hey, man, we were the ones that sent you that, and there was no proof, and you validated it."
And that they don't even have belts anyway in that particular discipline.
He called them all fucktards and blocked them.
Yeah, he seems like one of those guys that...
He's got a bad temper.
He does.
Yeah.
I've seen some interviews that's funny because they call them interviews, and like I said, you can see most of them on YouTube. They're not really interviews because he supposedly...
He's by himself.
Yeah, he's by himself, like in front of a green screen background or like a blue paper background, and it's just like him talking, and then it'll cut to like a text question,
right?
As though someone is asking him that, but you can tell clearly he wrote the questions himself.
The question for you.
what he wanted to answer in that particular video, which,
Right.
I guess there's nothing wrong with that. It's a little deceptive, but whatever. And it does seem like the tactic that he takes in a lot of these videos is that, he will ask himself in these videos about, like, all these haters and all these people, like, picking on, but he'll try to, like, take the high road.
Yeah.
And, like, get all, like, sanctimonious about it.
About bullies and...
About how they're, not necessarily saying they're bullying him, but just saying that, how childish they are, and, they're just jealous of me, like, that kind of stuff. So he's kind of going that route.
Yeah, the dead giveaway for a fake martial artist is a lot of talk and no fighting. There's no video of Ashida Kim fighting anyone.
Yeah, and there's no record of him training anywhere, of him getting any particular belts or anything like that. So
he'll give a class like he was doing weird karate chops on a student or something, and it looks fake as fuck because he's, of course, not putting any power into it. But we'll show you some clips of him doing.
Because
doing his things that
it's comedy gold. Seriously.
He can't fight. He can't fight.
And as you said, he's written over 200 books that they're pretty short. Like
they're almost like pamphlets.
Shit like ninja mind control, like
ninja
secret ninja alchemy and stuff. And also, and this was the most delightful aspect of the whole thing for me, is that he's also written some erotica. In which he is the main character. Yeah. And it's supposedly true stories, I guess.
Like adventure erotica. I read a review of it. It's about evidently the grandmasters of the Black Dragon Society tell him that one of the dojos has turned into a brothel somewhere in Africa.
That's right.
And he's got to go down there and straighten it out. But first he has to prove himself at another one. And then he ends up down there, and it's nothing but hookers with hearts of gold. And of course he's laying into them, and he's not paying for any of the booze. And he saves the day and comes back. And the whole idea is that Ashida Kim is a very wise and powerful and ultra cool dude, and putting the wood on these hookers,
Yeah, seriously, go to a site called The Martialist, and do a search on a review of The Amorous Adventures of Ashida Kim, because that's what the name of this.
108 pages.
And the cover of the book is him, like, mostly naked, kind of. I guess he's got, like, shorts or pants on or something like that. And then there's, like, a woman, like, sitting on his lap.
It's a semi-nude young woman.
Like a semi-nude, and she's, like, the face she's making is fucking priceless.
She's like, oh, shit.
It's like, she looks like, I don't know if I want any part of this. And she's, like, kind of backing away and stuff. And it's, like, just the funniest shit ever. And, like, this review that this guy wrote for The Martialist for this book, it's just, Tom read it, like, we were laying up at the thing, in the bed, and, like, he was reading it to me. And it was just, this was the funniest fucking, I gotta read this book now. I'm not paying for it, but I just, like, I want to read it.
Okay, now, in the training videos, what he shows, like, ninja invisibility and how to hide.
Oh my god,
so what he does is he throws a damn E-tool, which is an army entrenching tool, and it hits the top of a little hill, and he digs a hole, gets in it, and he says you could always bury yourself, and if they walk over you, don't do anything. And then he gets down in it, and he's partially obscured, and he keeps jumping out, ha! And he does it over and over, ha! And I'm like, what the
and then
fuck
the
is
hole's
this?
deeper and deeper. But the thing is, here's what I pointed out when we were watching this video. I said, okay, so he's digging this hole, but the dirt is in front of the hole, so you can't see the hole, like in the video.
Yeah, you see the dirt.
I'm like, this hole could be like this deep, and he could just be going back there and like ducking down, and then jumping out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's funny for me as a soldier, because I'm getting back to my own legitimate ninja skills as a reconnaissance scout. You know what I mean? Whenever a fucking infantryman stops, and he's going to be stopped for a long period of time, you get out your E-tool, if you're going to do it by the book, and you dig what's called a hasty fighting position. Okay? And really, that's all he did, was dig a hasty fighting position, and then he dug it a little bit deeper. It wasn't quite a machine gun pit, and it wasn't, it was just a slot, almost like a slit trench you'd take a dump in, really.
Yeah.
And he gets down in it. And he's saying this is a fucking ninja skill that only he can teach you, Digging a hole.
Yeah.
Soldiers dig, infantry soldiers
Seriously,
dig holes on daily basis.
85% of this video is him just digging a hole, and the other 15% of it is just jumping out of it, going like that.
And then another one,
It's
he's
hilarious.
got one where he's training you on how to do like a mock assassination outside his house in the daytime. And I guess it's supposed to be
These
nighttime.
are so great. They're
He's
so great.
creeping along, and then you hear he's doing the voiceover. Duck underneath the windowsills. So when he's up against the wall, he gets down, goes in another window, breaks into his own house.
Duh.
And then there's somebody in his bed, and he creeps up on it, and he says, make distraction nature noises to put him at ease. So it doesn't really make sense. He's saying if the person thinks you're in the room, make another noise that sounds natural, and that person will go to ease. It's not how that shit works. And then he gets up next to the bed, and he goes, ninja can disappear at sight. And he takes the curtains and covers himself up in the damn curtains with his feet sticking out of the bottom, whole legs. And if you were in bed and you turn around, you'd see a motherfucker hiding behind the curtains.
You'd see his motherfucking legs.
But not in Ashida Kim's world. And then he fucking comes out with a flashlight and shines it in his face, and there's a little bit of voiceover. And I'm like, well, that would wake you up. But and I don't know if he was he supposed to be assassinating the guy? I don't really know. It was just...
I was hazy on the
It
motive.
was a spooky... It was a kind of a spooky image, really, when you think about this skinny little nerd fucking creeping into your house.
Well, and like I said...
Creeping up on you and shining his fucking...
He doesn't even have, like, in these videos, like, in particular that one. That was, like, my favorite one, because he's just like, look, I'm invisible. And then, like, his top half is behind a curtain. So there's this big lumpy curtain with two legs sticking out. I'm like... So that guy's going to wake up and roll over and go, oh, I thought there was a guy. Oh, it's just legs. It's fine. I'm going to go back to sleep.
Oh, nobody's hiding behind that curtain.
There's somebody back. And it's like, so, but I'm thinking, because he's not wearing, like, what you would see, like, in a movie, like a Halloween costume of, like, a ninja costume, he's essentially wearing a ski mask. I'm like, he looks like the Golden State Killer is what he looks like. Or Mr. Cruel. Yeah. I'm like, so if... if you rolled over in bed and saw a dude in ski mask, looming over you, you'd shit your pants.
Black tight pants, like black sweater, and a ski mask.
Yeah, so it's like not even a real ninja outfit.
It's like a burglar outfit.
Yeah, that's exactly what or like a serial rapist outfit is what that is. And it's like it's just so funny to me because it seems like he
is unaware.
Yeah, that's why I think that this dude maybe has a little bit of mental illness going on, because he seems completely clueless about how his videos come across. Yeah. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like this one particular one, like, he's, like, giving you ninja tips, like, if you're sneaking into someone's house, like, go up against the wall like that so they can't see you. I'm like, oh, really? I never would have thought of that. Right. It's like, how the fuck much... And like you said, like, ducking under the windows, like, hide behind the... It's, like, the stupidest thing ever. Yeah. And, and then there's the whole thing with, like... where there's a couple too where he's like fighting with another guy.
Yeah, there's a scene where he's fighting with somebody named Sensei Broussard.
Broussard, yeah.
And Sensei Broussard is obviously somebody who belongs with either those little crutches or...
Yeah, he looks disabled.
He's just disabled, or he needs to be in a wheelchair. He's propped up against the door with his...
Against like the wall or
against
something.
The wall with his kind of knock-kneed with his feet.
And his legs don't move.
Yeah, his legs don't move, so... He's just holding himself up under pressure, and they got lightsabers, and they're going through like a little lightsaber.
Yeah, legit lightsabers.
It looked like some dudes fucking around at a LARPing convention for fucking Star Wars.
Not even as cool as that.
Not even as cool as that, and that's when seeing this shit. And here's another thing: is that some of his videos are him answering challenges, and he tries to sound real fierce when he's talking, but he's a $135.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Yeah, and but that doesn't necessarily mean he isn't dangerous. I mean, that motherfucker might have guns. You know what I mean? And just shoot your ass, But it's a little weird.
And I mean, it's just so funny to me because the production value on these videos. Like they're from the 80s, so I
don't think
some of them might not be.
I think they're from the 90s.
Some of them might be newer.
I think they're.
But they look like they're from the 80s. They look like they're from like an old shitty VHS camera, and they're just shot in front of, like I said, like a wrinkly green screen background or like a crumpled blue paper background, and like. The one where he was, like, fighting the guy, and I don't think he was doing, like, dim mock, like, death touch type of shit on him, but he was, like, knocking him out with, like, one touch, and the guy was, like, obviously just faking it, and then he's like, and I'll just bring him back to life now, woo, ta-da!
Yeah, the videos are not hardcore in terms of action at all. Basically, his death move, or The most action you're going to see in this is that he runs up to somebody and throws a pocket full of dirt.
Sand in their face, like out of his pocket. Keep sand in your pocket, pro tip.
That's about as...
And then I disappeared.
Yeah, and there's all this weird shit where he's showing him disarming sentries, and I know all about that, man. And it doesn't work that way. You know, I've been that sentry. You just don't do that. You know what I mean? It's called riding the bear's back, I think. What do they call it? Where you get behind somebody, whenever they turn, you're supposed to turn with them. It doesn't work like that.
Well,
you can spin. You don't have to turn.
And the funniest thing about that one particular one where they were doing that, and they were doing it like in an open field or like their backyard or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly that's what he was supposed to be doing, that he was just supposed to. But like the guy like turned, and you could tell, like in real life, that guy would actually see him because he was right there.
Right.
But you could tell that he was like having to pretend that he didn't see him.
Yeah.
Like he told him for the video, it's like, I'm not here, okay? Pretend you can't see me. So he's just like turning around, looking right at the guy, and they're just going, where is he? Oh my God, he's a ninja. I can't see him.
Yes,
and it's just like, oh, it's hilarious.
So once you put all this together and his writings and what he's teaching, I would say that he's probably like one of the first prototype LARPers. It's kind of like live action role playing. He strikes me as a fantasy prone, kind of angry. Fantasy role player, live action role player is what it seems like.
And some of the shit that he's doing in his videos is just basically shitty sleight of hand magic tricks that he's not even really good at.
He's trying to convince you of something that
he's trying to like do some shit like this, and he's like got like a ping pong ball and remember he's like levitating.
Yeah, the levitation.
Oh.
Yeah.
This one is so good, you guys. And it's like, I know some of you are listening to the audio, so you can't see the videos, but like if you get YouTube, like go look at the levitation video, because he's sitting on the floor cross-legged.
Yeah. And
you can tell that he obviously just like puts his feet like under himself and like lifts his butt up like an inch or not even an inch.
Yeah.
And then like he has his little his little assistant come over with like a silver hula hoop.
Yeah.
And like put it under, you know how they do the magic trick and they put it under your butt and stuff like that? Well, they try to do that.
We'll just show them, yeah.
But they can't do that right.
Yeah, they can't even do that trick.
And it's like, obviously he's just going like one side and then he's like turning around and going like, woo, I went all the way under his butt, except he clearly didn't.
Strikes me as a LARP, like it's a live action role playing, and it's also, he's trying to sell books, maybe was selling books to kids through Black Belt Magazine.
I guess.
And other fantasy role playing type people. It's, it's only for the very, what can I say? Only for the very gullible would believe. Maybe a 12-year-old might believe that a little bit for a while. Not today, but a 12-year-old
back in the day, like I said, because you couldn't really check.
Back in the 80s and 90s, you might be able to keep a 12-year-old going for a while.
I mean...
But that's about it.
But he has been able... I mean, seriously, it seems like he's been able to ride this fucking train
they've
for
been
a long time, because he goes to other countries, like in lectures and stuff.
Yeah, and you can actually hear him talking on a podcast. He's on one podcast, I think it was from a year back or so, and he's saying basically that his new way is to be a ninja healer. He's going to heal. He's not going to fight. And what it is because so many people have challenged him to fight. And he said, well, you can fight me, but you have to pay $32,000 to fight me.
Oh, it's up to $32,000 now? It used to be $10,000.
I think, but then there's like some other shit that you have to pay, so other fees. I think it ended up being $32,000
fighting Ashida Kim fees.
And well, some of those guys on Bullshido evidently got close to raising the money. All right.
Yeah, because you could crowdsource that shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
because come on, we'd all pay.
Yeah,
to see that.
so he's not in the fighting business anymore. Besides, he's in his early 70s now.
Yeah, see, that was another thing, and I was going to mention that before, is he had what he called back then the $10,000 challenge. And you think, oh, $10,000, that means if I best you in fighting that you'll give me $10,000. No, that's not what that means.
You have to pay him.
That means you have to pay him $10,000 for the honor of fighting him.
Yeah. But there were also a bunch of fees on top of that. I think it all added up to about $32,000.
Man, that's like...
Which is probably, maybe that's what he made in a year? Book sales, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's very funny to me. And it, like I said, it seems like if it got to a point where people seemed like they might actually be like raising the money and actually do it, that's probably the time that he was like, yeah, I'm out.
A dude to get flattened in a fight.
Yeah.
If he could fight, like that would be in those videos.
That's what I figured. And it's like, you can tell that, I mean, whether he's had any martial arts training or not, I can't really say.
I don't think he...
It doesn't really look like... Maybe in a very minor capacity.
Pamphlets.
But it really doesn't look like. I mean, from what I've seen of the videos, like the way he moves, the way he does, like I just can't.
His students or assistants or whatever, whoever's working with him in these videos, look like other LARPers. Really.
Yeah, it does kind of look like
kind of overweight LARPer type.
Just like a bunch of dudes. Yeah.
Let's sit around and play Ninja.
That seems like what they're doing. It's just like, it's like people, it's like Dungeons and Dragons, but for ninjas.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Maybe we should talk about Dillman.
Yeah.
Let's
but
talk about
but seriously, Google The Amorous Adventures of Ashida Kim.
Yeah.
The Martialist. And go read that fucking review.
And you can just look at Ashida Kim's videos on YouTube.
Oh my God. Hilarious. But like I said, I'll put some into
He's got them up there. He's got them up there for all the world to see. He's the one to put them up. Now, comments are disabled. Unfortunately, but
well, I can imagine.
I think other people have mirrored them, and the comments are available on those.
Probably, like I said, you could probably go to like Wayback Machine or something like that and see what they were. So, all right, but yeah, go watch Ashida Kim. It's like it's comedy gold. All right, so now let's talk about George Dillman.
Yeah, George Dillman. His name usually comes up as synonymous with pressure point.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you hear, remember when you were a kid, you're talking about, I'm going to use this pressure point, this pressure. That's Dillman.
Yeah.
Now, Dillman was a real martial artist at one time. He even worked with Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali was kind of using him for PR, I think. And next thing you know, old Dillman's fucking Black Belt magazine sucking his dick, and fucking Dillman's out there throwing damn invisible chi balls, knocking down fucking dozens of people at once. Yeah. George Dillman.
There's some pretty funny videos of him online too.
Yeah, and when he was younger and thinner, you could buy that he was a martial artist in those days. You look at him now, and
well, he's just like a tubby old
he's
man.
a tubby old dude, and you can tell he's lying. All right, you can tell he's lying. Go ahead and tell a story.
Well, he seems like now this guy too. Okay, like with Ashida Kim, I think, like I said, that guy might have like legit mental illness.
Yeah.
But this guy, I get more of,
fraud.
a fraud vibe. Like he knows that he's bullshitting. Mm-hmm. But because it seems like whenever he's caught in stuff, he's always got like an excuse or he's got some crazy story to like explain it.
Goes back to what I was telling you before. It's easier to sell quick fix bullshit to people who are out of shape but have money. You know, a person who's out of shape, doesn't really want to put much into this as a sport or a fighting sport, is willing to go into that kind of culty dojo environment, pay a certain amount of dollars a month, and then to have some instructor tell them that, you can now knock over the 250-pound man just by fucking touching him on this spot right here. You're unbeatable.
Yeah,
you're unbeatable.
Like I said, it's a very seductive thing to tell somebody, especially if they don't have a lot of physical power. But
very dangerous.
You are gonna get your fucking ass creamed.
You're giving very vulnerable people and helpless people. You're giving them a very dangerous, false sense of security.
Yeah.
Where you could have a situation where some gullible woman thinks she can take on this 200-pound man. Step aside, I will solve this. You know what I mean? And she goes up there and tries some fucking crazy pressure point, and that dude just shrugs it off and just knocks her jaw off.
Yeah.
And takes her purse. You don't know.
That's what I mean.
A lot of women are kind of protected in a certain way because a normal man is not apt to knock a woman's block off. Yeah. They got psychos out there.
Yeah.
On these other shows, we're talking about these rapes and murders. The opening move is usually the dude just fucking knocks her out.
Yeah.
With a blow to the head.
Yep.
And they're out there. So, giving vulnerable people a false sense of security like that, I think it's criminal.
I mean, that's the thing, and it's like there's a fine line. There's a fine line between like confidence, like walking down the street, like looking like not a victim,
right,
and thinking that you can kick anyone's ass, who you come across
with a pressure point.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous. That's a very dangerous misconception to have. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Chihuahuas have that.
Yeah.
And Chihuahuas get bit in half a lot.
That's what I mean. It's like you shouldn't go around like looking like a victim or anything like
Right.
that, but don't go around thinking you can whip everyone's ass either, because obviously there's always someone's going to be able to whip your
Yeah.
ass.
Now, if you're
Always.
with Cynthia Rothrock, you might be able to stand up to the average dude who's not a trained fighter.
Yeah.
You know, back when she was in her prime, she was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I feel like, okay, so...
That's another thing here. Let me. I gotta give a caveat. All these martial arts. Let's say these fake martial arts or bad martial arts or outmoded, out of style martial arts. A lot of these martial arts become kind of old fashioned or out of style or outmoded because they would only work on an untrained fighter. A real martial art is something that a trained fighter is using these techniques against another trained fighter, and it works.
Yeah.
You're getting an advantage. A lot of these old martial arts, they might work on an average untrained person, but they're not going to work on a real trained on a real trained fighter. You
Yeah.
know? So I'm just trying to put that out there. That yeah, you could beat somebody's ass with an obsolete fucking karate move, but that guy was untrained.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And honestly,
all-
I've always thought that if you were going to learn any martial art, I think it would be better to learn something having to do with grappling more than, because that's
Grappling and
where
wrestling.
more because
Yeah.
that's where most fights are going to end up. You're
Yeah.
both going to be on the ground rolling around.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a better thing than, like, although learning to punch and kick is good too, but
MMA is a mixture of all that.
yeah,
Because
and
all of that happens.
and like I said, I think it's good that at this point they've kind of like refined in the MMA
Yeah.
and everything like that, like refined all the shit that actually works in a fight rather than, and I'm not saying there's not like an art to, martial arts obviously, but it's,
I've heard some old timers.
fighting and martial arts are two different things.
Yeah, I heard some old timers say that MMA is fighting, but it isn't martial arts. I kind of disagree. I mean, guns is fighting. Guns is a martial art too.
Yeah.
You know? There are guys that are fantastic shots and trick shots, and guys that are fucking tactical gurus that all kinds of shit, and whole teams of guys that are trained together. It is a martial art. It is something that it's a bunch of tactics that have been refined into killing people with weapons.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it with fists anymore. You need other weapons. Shit, look at some of those John Wick movies. Not realistic, but what they're Keanu Reeves can actually shoot like that. I've seen him shoot like that at the range. So, what is a martial art? A martial art is any kind of skill you learn that you can use in combat.
Yeah.
So, MMA is a martial art, if you ask me.
Yeah, and like I said, they do
Yeah.
use a lot of like traditional,
Yeah.
what people would think of as martial arts techniques.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if they're not
Yeah.
using them in a necessarily traditional way.
Right.
But they're using them, like you said, the more like Count Dante wanted, where,
Right.
just shit that was effective.
Right, and that's where all that shit came from anyway. It's a process of evolution.
Yeah.
The old stuff isn't necessarily it doesn't have to stay frozen in time like that.
Now, like we were saying about George Dillman, now this is another guy that comes up a lot when we're talking about martial arts frauds, even though from everything I've read, I mean, he does have actual martial arts training. He's not just like some rando, like I said, who's just coming out saying he did this, that, and the other thing. But he usually gets kind of like, kind of put into that group because of his claims about no-touch knockouts, summoning chi balls, that kind of stuff. And the fact that he's been asked to, like, prove that he can do this, like, give scientific, evidence of it, and he won't do that. So I think that's what makes him controversial more than just saying, like, oh, he can't do any martial arts. Because apparently, like you said, he worked with Muhammad Ali. He did, he won awards. He did that kind of shit. So he's not, like, completely pulling everything out of his ass.
Yeah, he worked for Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wanted to know how to defend himself against karate or some kind of an oriental martial artist.
Yeah.
So that's really what he got.
Because it's funny, and I didn't really know a lot about this, but it does seem like martial arts, the kind of heyday of it, which, when the Kung Fu movies and shit in the 70s and whatnot. But then, like, once UFC and MMA and stuff like that started coming along, I feel like all the traditional martial arts kind of to fade out.
Yeah.
That's why you don't really see, like, a lot of ninja
that's
movies
because
anymore or
you
anything
would
like
take
that.
those guys and put them in UFC or
And they'd
MMA
get their
and they'd
butt
get their
kicked.
asses kicked.
Yeah.
So they lost their street cred.
I guess so. And
Yeah.
like I said, there's still, I feel like in the martial arts community, there's still kind of like that, that conflict with the MMA, because like, some of them complain about all these MMA guys, and they always say like, oh, put them in the ring with us and we'll kick their asses.
The most famous martial artists that actually made the transition into UFC and MMA type fighting would be the Gracies with their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But that was a rational system that they had, and they were actually fighting. They were fighters. Their little system looked like something from MMA, so it survived because it made sense.
Yeah.
They were working on something that worked. Now, I don't know if it's totally up to date nowadays, but still probably pretty good.
Yeah.
The Gracies were pretty legendary.
But yeah, so like I said, Dillman is like one of the, and this is probably on, I think it's on YouTube because we saw it on there, but I feel like he first started talking about like this no touch type of thing in the early 1980s, and Black Belt magazine kind of, they kind of championed it.
Yeah.
That he had come up with this new method.
Yeah, what they're talking about, in case you don't know, they were saying that you could sit, and sometimes you'd see it in these old damn video games, where you could cock a fist back and then pull a bunch of chi energy into it. And then, in a video game or in an anime, it's like a bunch of little balls going in, a bunch of energy, going in, and then you could punch somebody and send all that energy into them.
Right.
We just call that really punching the fuck out of somebody. But these ninjas are trying to explain it in terms of chi. Well, some guys were taking it to the next level, to where they could just get the chi to like form up inside their hands, and they could just throw the ball out, and that invisible ball of chi could knock you out. It was a no-touch knockout.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about. You'd see that in Street Fighter with like Ken throwing that shit. Whoa, okay. And all that shit, fucking throwing that shit out. That's what it is. Chi ball. It doesn't work.
Well, clearly.
It doesn't work.
Well, and the thing about it is that even you see like George Dillman giving like quote unquote demonstrations of this, and you can tell that either A, the people are knowing participants, that he is told, hey, I'm going to like do this at you and you fall over. Or it's kind of like a thing with like, how faith healers do that shit where they put their hand on yours like, David, you're healed. And then they go, oh, and then they pass out just because they're so into it.
It's a cult.
That they want to play along. So I feel like one of those two things is going on in this situation.
They're trying to make George look good, and they're just, maybe they believe it to a certain extent, so there might be some psychosomatics going involved.
That's what
maybe.
But I kind of feel like that was, and that's why I make the faith healers.
You put a skeptic out there and nothing happens.
Which very famously, and this is when Dillman lost a lot of his credibility, was in 2005. The National Geographic Channel, they had that show. I don't know if it's on anymore, but it's called Is It Real? And they wanted to see a demonstration of his knockout chi ball. And so they had like somebody that didn't believe in any of it. And so he's standing there like and going, yeah, man, knock me out with your fucking chi ball. And he does it, and the guy's just standing there going, yeah, I got nothing. Right. And he's just like standing there. Now, the best thing about this show is that at the end of it, when they're asking Dillman, was like, hey, why didn't it work on the skeptic or anything like that? Dillman didn't say, oh, I'm full of shit, or oh, it doesn't work or anything like that. He came up with, he's like, okay, one, it doesn't work on non-believers, like, so you have to believe in it. So again, like a faith healer type.
Maybe his tongue was on his side.
Maybe his tongue was on the wrong side. You can nullify it like that. I'm like, well, don't tell everybody that.
Yeah. And he said you could nullify if you have one toe down.
One toe down and one toe up.
And if you keep switching it, then you can block it.
So I'm like, so you just told everybody how to like keep from getting killed by you? Good job.
And in a flash, this guy's career was just fucking vanished, pretty much. I mean, his credibility is fucking gone. And I don't even think Black Belt Magazine will put him in there anymore.
Probably not. Not after that fiasco.
Black Belt Magazine's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as it goes. I mean, why would you read a Black Belt magazine?
Yeah.
It's not popular
It's
anymore.
just, like I said, and I've said this before when we talked again about like, cult leaders or people that make their living by lying and bullshitting. To me, it just seems like it just seems like so much work, man.
Yeah.
It's like all this kind of shit that you have to come up with, and then you get caught in the lie.
Yeah.
And then they come up with even stupider lies, like to cover up the lie that they got caught in. It's like the shit about the toes. Like, how did he even come up with that?
I don't know.
Did he just come up with that at like the last minute?
No,
what
just
the fuck?
no, it's right on top of his head, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe we should go on Frank Dux. It's time for
Do you want to talk about Frank Dukes?
It's
Okay,
time
you
for
probably
Frank Dukes.
know a lot about Frank Dukes, and
Give me time. Yeah. Okay.
and you watched Bloodsport.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it in probably like
Frank
20,
Dux
25
is like
years.
the culmination of all these martial art lies, all coming together into one man. The comic books and everything.
Yeah, this dude. Man.
You got Count Dante. You got the Japanese guy with the purple hair, who you got his work in there. You got Ashida Kim mixed in there. He also claimed, he worked with Ashida Kim, and they took pictures together.
Yeah, I have a couple of
They
those.
both claimed to be part of the Black Dragon Fighting Society for a while. And Frank Dux, I'm gonna call him Dux.
Because that's what it
That's
looks
how it's
like.
spelled, like Frank Dux. Frank Dux claims to be like a CIA special assassin and elite soldier warrior, even though he wasn't in service for very long and the timelines are all fucked up. He's also a ninja master. He fought in this thing that he called the kumite, where he defeated 63 opponents. Broke all these world records. He did a lot of shit, man.
Uh-huh.
And even Hollywood made a movie about him. It was called Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Based on this story.
Uh-huh.
Jean-Claude Van Damme plays it. And it pretty much was close. It's very close to the
It's
story.
close to the claims that
than
he
the
made.
claims that Frank Dux made.
We're not going to say it's a
and
true
you can
story.
watch that for free on YouTube. And I really think you guys should watch Bloodsport. You'll fucking love it. It's a simple movie. It's fucking outrageous. It's like watching the video game Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
video.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was
Or
in
no.
Street Fighter as well.
Actually, it's not. It's more like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
More like
That's
Mortal
what I
Kombat.
was thinking.
I think Street Fighter was based on it. I think Street Fighter actually was maybe based on it. But I don't know. Give us a timeline, Jenny.
Okay, so Frank Dukes
Yeah.
claims
Yeah.
that he was trained by a ninjutsu expert named Senzo Tanaka,
Yeah.
who astute listeners will know was the same guy that was in You Only Live Twice. That
Yes,
that
that's
was
right.
the name of that guy.
That's right. And when he was confronted with that, he said, "Well, Ian Fleming often wrote about fucking
real people.
Put him in, yeah. So that's how he did it.
So yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
There was a guy named that, but the guy that Frank Dukes was talking about, like the details didn't match up. So I don't.
Now, here's the
think it's the same
thing, Frank. This big kumite that Frank Dux claims that he was in, where he defeated the 63 guys. If you actually look at the details of that, this is the same kumite that Count Dante was talking about back in the 60s, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, or that's where the idea came from, So this is a fantasy that he picked up from reading comic books,
Yeah.
and then he made it his life story.
Yeah, I feel like these are a lot of fantasy-prone individuals that are reading things when they're kids, and they like the story of it so much
That they make a
that
story
they just make a whole,
life history about it.
Right. And it's hard for me to understand because I don't really have that type of personality, but I guess that can be really attractive to a certain type of person.
I guess so.
That you can just come up with this thing.
Well, they got famous off this shit. So
they did. It did work.
It worked.
Well, there's a fine line between getting famous off shit and then just ranting on a park bench somewhere.
Now the thing with Frank is that Frank was a big dude. He could beat your ass.
He was. He's very large.
He could beat an untrained dude's ass. He's probably about 6'3", maybe. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
So he was somebody that could go into a dojo full of these fucking LARPing nerds, and he could tell them anything, and they'd probably believe it.
Yeah.
Especially after a movie was made about him.
Yeah, because that legitimized.
Right. And he was all over Black Belt magazine, just all over.
Oh yeah, he was on the cover all the time.
They were sucking his dick
all the time.
So, yeah, I mean, he could probably say whatever he wanted. And
yeah,
and those little dorks would believe it.
He was another one that, I mean, because, as you said, he not only claimed to be this big, like, martial arts master and whatnot, but he also claimed to be a covert CIA.
Yeah, he had a fake
operative.
military history, Medal of Honor, Flying Cross, all that shit.
Yeah, and it's like, that's the thing. Like, they think that he really did serve in the military, probably the Marine Corps Reserve, from 1975 to 1981. But he claimed that he was, like, in all these covert missions. And a lot of things you read about, like, say he was a Vietnam veteran, even though he didn't join the service until after the Vietnam War was over.
So he couldn't have
And
deployed.
I don't think he ever went overseas.
Yeah.
Now, they had pictures of him in his quote-unquote uniform, but the medals were all wrong. Like, he said he got, like, every medal ever. Like, Medal of Honor, Purple Heart. He got all that shit.
Medals all in the wrong positions.
But they were all in the wrong positions.
So that means that he'd never served.
Right. So, like, when somebody called him on it, like... Okay, the first thing he said when they were like, well, your military record says you never went overseas or you joined after Vietnam, so what the hell is this all about? The first thing he said was that, oh, well, you know, the government is trying to, like, discredit me, so they're saying this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, that's super likely. And the second thing he said when that picture came out and people called him on it was that was a Halloween costume.
Okay, yeah.
So this is another guy that when he gets called out on his bullshit, and this is one of my favorite things. There's like a lot of interviews and shit with him. I was watching this one, I don't know what show it was from, but somebody was asking him like true and false questions, and he's sitting there with his like sunglasses on inside, like fucking Corey Hart, like a douche.
Yeah.
And like, so what happens is, if he says something in an interview, and then somebody later calls him out on the bullshit, he'll say that wasn't really me. That was one of my doubles.
Yeah, he has these doubles.
Because I'm a CIA operative and I'm like super important and super secret and shit.
Yeah. Sometimes when he's got an engagement, he's got to go out on a mission.
Yeah.
His double will do that engagement.
Because he's super important.
Sometimes the doubles fuck up.
And sometimes they say stuff that's like unauthorized.
Yeah, right.
So that was his excuse. It's not as crazy as the toe thing that Dillman came up with.
Yeah, it's
but still pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know, that he's like so like super secret spy and everything.
Yeah, now I got him in here and he's like in the ninja. He's in the ninja category because he does claim to be covert operative with a bunch of ninja type skills.
Yes.
That he's a badass motherfucker that don't take no shit. He was actually recruited by the CIA chief, the head of the CIA, when they were in the bathroom together.
Yeah.
And fucking
he
says, I need a badass motherfucker. You don't take no shit, okay?
And he's like, oh, that's me.
Yeah, I can't fucking trust.
I'm a badass motherfucker.
They don't take no shit. That's right, because my normal spies, my normal agents, you know what I mean, they can't handle shit like you can. I need some people that will kick.
They're such
fucking
manginas.
Ass. Yeah, I kick fucking ass. So he's like, sure, man. And that's how he became fucking an operative. And there's pictures of him in his spy outfit, which, you know, I've analyzed the photo. He's like in this.
Oh, that photo. I know which one you're talking about.
He's in a black leather jacket with fucking driving gloves and his belt on. And on a table in front of him is basically like some binoculars. And it looks like a PVS 2. I don't know. It could, you know, some of the AN PVS, maybe 2s and maybe like a 1. They're night vision. Okay, and another one looks Soviet. They are night vision scopes, or night vision optics, but that's not something a spy would use. Everything that I saw on the table was something that an infantryman would use, like the shit that I was using when I was in the 101st, and then, you know, and then in the 2nd in infantry with the 506, you know, it's something you put on a weapon system, like put it on top of an M16, or you strap it onto the side of a fucking RPG-7 or something, you know what I mean? Fucking, because that Soviet one looked like something that you might put with an RPG, but they're not spy. That wasn't spy equipment. That was just basic soldier shit, and that shit didn't even really work that well. If anybody's used that old-fashioned night vision, it's just like looking through a green and black television set. You know, the resolution was shitty. I mean, you really couldn't identify too well what you were seeing. You know, it was just optics of that day sucks. But he's got him out on a table. He's looking over him real serious.
Yeah, he's got like this is my badass like CIA operative face.
Badass fucking spy equipment before I take with me on my mission, and I'm going like, you take that shit with you on a mission? That was the shit we wanted to leave back in the barracks.
Yeah, it's like, why do you want that crap?
We're trying to.
Can't you get better shit than that from the CIA? Come on.
Yeah. We were trying to leave that shit back in the barracks. We didn't want to carry that shit around.
That's what I mean. It's like how long exactly do you think you're gonna like get away with this crap? Particularly in this day and age. I can see like back in the day, I mean, he did get away with it a lot. You know, he was legit. They made a movie about the dude.
Yeah.
Like, the guy that wrote the screenplay, I'm pretty sure that the guy who wrote the screenplay for Bloodsport did not entirely believe this dude's story, but he just thought it would make a good movie.
Yeah, and it is goofy. The movie does have a lot of goofiness to it. That you look at it, it's a very fun movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely based on some Walter Mitty. Remember?
Yeah.
Walter Mitty fucking life fantasy.
And I think like that might be how the screenwriter approached it. Because from what I read, I mean, he didn't say this outright, but I got the implication that he just thought it was a good story. He didn't think the dude was, like, telling the truth.
And at the end, when Van Damme's won, it just shows all these Frank Dux' greatest fucking times and how many knockouts and how many victories.
Yeah.
And you're watching, you're like, oh, what? This is a true story?
He's amazing.
This is a true story? This is some shit that really happened?
Holy shit.
Because when you're watching it, it just does not come off as anything that could be ever even remotely true.
It is. It's crazy. It's like, it's super over the top. Well, because like at the end...
I recommend it.
It is. It is. It's super fun.
Kumite.
But like his whole thing was that he would tell people that he had the world record for the most consecutive knockouts, which is 56, in case you were...
Fastest knockout.
Fastest knockout, 0.12 seconds. All this other kind of stuff. But, and I think that, wasn't this on the Pinkman's channel... where he said, okay, like, for the kumite to be real...
62 consecutive components, I think it was.
I think 56 was what they said.
56 consecutive components. Each one of them narrows the field by half. Pinkman did the
math on this?
Did the math.
He's like, for that to be true...
To defeat 63 people in an elimination...
In that type of elimination.
It's like tens of billions
It would have to be like something like 70 trillion people.
Yeah, it's like what was it? 100 times the Earth's population?
Something like that. It was like some ridiculous number. He's like, I'm not sure I get the math right, but he's like, I'm pretty sure that's right.
Because he didn't think it through.
A
championship that has, 1,000 people in it, you'd really only have to like fight. Maybe about 4 people, six people.
Yeah, because like the way the rounds are, because if they're elimination rounds, it's like 2 guys fighting and then 1 guy gets knocked out and then that guy, fights the next guy. So it's like however many rounds you have. What I think he figured it, I can't remember.
It doubles
what he did.
each time.
Yeah, it just doubles each time.
If you double that thing 63 times, you end up with billions.
Yeah, it's like more people than are on the Earth.
Right, yeah.
So he's like, so obviously, he's like, unless this kumite was like structured in some weird way that knows
parallel dimensions and shit, and
aliens and... Right, or if it was done in like some weird thing that like no sporting thing has ever done. Because most martial arts competitions are elimination competitions. They have rounds, and this guy fights this guy gets knocked out, then you have to fight this guy that won against that guy, and all this other kind of shit. So you being in a single competition that's supposed to be, what was it, over like 2 days, 3 days, something like that?
Yeah, might have to back up. Frank Dux' claim to fame was this movie. And his biggest fucking fib of his career is that he fought in this thing called the kumite. Mm-hmm. He called it the kumite. That just means like a match.
Yeah, that's not a that's a thing, but it's just it's a general term.
He's saying this back in the 80s, okay? And he's saying, it was a no-holds-barred death match in another country. Secret.
I'm the only one that's allowed to talk about it.
All these different martial artists coming together to fight each other to see what martial art is the best. And, I won, and they gave me a sword. And like, where's the sword? Oh, I had to trade the sword to free children from pirates. That's exactly what he said.
That's right. He did say that.
Yeah. So
again, fantasist.
Fantasy, okay. So really where he got this idea was Count Dante.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't... Did Ashida Kim ever make any claims like that? I don't think so.
Not that outrageous. No,
right. Not
that I know of.
And this is going back to Count Dante's fantasy and of what he wanted, and also Bruce Lee was envisioning the same kind of competitions. This is pre-MMA. This is pre-UFC. Okay.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of a no-holds-barred match without pads would be something kind of illegal. It'd have to be in another country.
Yeah.
All right, and some dudes died.
Yeah.
That's what they... Damn, ain't that some serious shit?
Holy shit.
Well, that's happening now in fucking UFC, and I think they had one of them die in MMA just a couple.
I think they did. Yeah.
It happens. It's just that in the time in which he's telling this story.
Oh, people have died boxing too.
Yeah, people have died boxing. It's not a big deal, but fucking during the time that he's telling this story, the whole concept of this kumite is like some real fucking pirate shit. You know what I mean? It's like real hardcore, like criminal almost.
Yeah, it's like underground.
It's like something that fucking...
It's like Fight Club.
Like the Yakuza would be involved in this, and the ninja. They'd be involved in that. You know,
of course they would. But you wouldn't be able to see them.
You'd be able to see them. They just go poof.
They'd throw sand in your eyes.
Throw sand
and then
in your
hide
eyes
behind the curtains.
Yeah. So, Dux's claim to fame was this big story of the kumite and the story that came about around it. And if you fucking ever get into this fucking 80s karate culture, you're going to hear kumite come up over and over again. And they're talking about that thing and the one that Count Dante was talking about. And they're also going to talk about dim mak.
Yeah.
With the death touch.
Yeah.
In the movie, because Frank Dux said he had to demonstrate he knew how to execute the dim mak in order to qualify to enter into the kumite.
So he had to kill somebody.
So he was reading a lot of Count Dante. And he had to fucking hit some bricks or some shit like that. I don't remember what it was. And they go, yeah, that's it. You know, you can come in.
Okay, you can be in it.
Come in. Yeah.
You can be in our fight to the death thing.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't really to the death. It was just no holds barred, and some dudes did die, and if they died, oh well, you know. They knew that, you know, and this is kind of like the same storyline that was in a lot of Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I feel like that's where they're getting a lot of the ideas from comic books and movies.
Yeah, comic books and movies.
And that's where a lot of these kind of fantasy prone individuals get these ideas for what they want people to think their life is really like. Yeah. You know what I mean? Is they're getting it from some fucking movie and then they're just like retooling a little bit and saying, yeah, I did this, that, and the other thing. Frank
Dux could get away with it because he was pretty big. And he was
true.
You know, he was a giant in a sea of mental midgets.
I'm still like baffled by Ashida Kim though, because he's just like because he's a small dude, and like I said, he didn't even have the audacity, or he didn't even have like the decency to go to like a Halloween, like a costume store and get an actual like ninja outfit. It's like he's just wearing, like you said, it's a black sweatshirt, black like yoga pants or sweatpants, socks, and a ski mask.
But he also has
he looks like a burglar.
He also has some photo shoots of himself in real like black gis and fucking ninja clothes and swords and shit. And he's doing like cool poses and shit. That when he was younger. I mean, it just depends on what they were doing. When you see them all together in a meeting, and there's photographs of them, they'll have them, I guess, in hotels or convention centers. They're all sitting down. You got Ashida Kim, you got Frank Dux, you got all these guys that they work with. You look at them, you go, you know, that's a horror con or a sci-fi or a convention. Yeah. That's LARPers. Yeah. That's exactly what they look like. They don't look like martial artists. They're all out of shape, too old, overweight, too skinny, just too little. You know what I mean? It's just mixtures of a bunch of... You look at them and you go, those aren't real fighters. Those are LARPers. Because if you put a bunch of MMA guys together and take that same photograph, you go, yeah, those are fighters. Yeah. Those are fucking fighters.
I mean, I hesitate to say because I'm not like into like the martial arts culture as much, but I feel like once you are no longer doing competitions, say you're no longer doing tournaments, you're no longer fighting, I really feel like even if you're going to like conventions to like give talks or whatever, I feel like wearing the shit, it's like, why would you do that?
They're bullshitting.
That's what I mean. It just seems like it seems like dress up and you don't really have the right to wear that anymore you're not.
When you look in with them, you might see, Rothrock. She could fight, but she wasn't a pro fighter. Yeah. And she isn't now. More she's an ex-martial artist and she made
and she was in movies and stuff. Yeah. I always liked her movies.
But, you know what I mean? That's fitting, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like... If you take a bunch of guys who are paintballers, okay, and dress them up as Delta Force and take a picture of them, all right, you have that picture, okay? And then you take a bunch of Delta Force guys and take that same picture, and they're in their uniforms. You just look at it, you could instantly tell. You could show them to civilians. Which one of these guys, which is the real Delta Force? You're going to go, those guys. Yeah. You know, you can tell.
Because these guys,
how hard they look.
Other than like Frank Dux, who, like you said, he's a bigger dude. Yeah. I mean, he's older now, obviously. And
all these people are over the hill
getting kind of chubby, but
all these people are almost
if you
in their
look at like
70s.
Dillman or like Ashida Kim or something like that, they don't look like. I mean, Dillman used to be a martial artist back in the old days,
Yeah.
but now he just looks like a fat old man, and he's like still wearing the stuff,
wearing his gi, wearing his uniform,
and it just I don't know.
Calling him sensei, and he doesn't have any flexibility. It's time to. It's just he went to pop because he didn't take that shit seriously anyway. He was throwing chi balls. His whole customer base was about throwing chi balls and how to avoid working out.
I wish I could fucking do that, man.
Yeah. Don't worry about those weights. Don't worry about working. We're just gonna throw a chi ball.
Yeah,
It's all shortcut.
gather
shit.
it all up in your hand, gather it all up in
And
your
that's-
hand, and pow, you're dead.
And that's more profitable.
Well, like you said, it's people. People want easy outs.
Yeah.
Because shit's hard.
Yeah.
Losing weight is hard. I know.
Yeah.
It's like working out. It's hard. Dieting is hard. It's like people don't want to do it. It's too much trouble. It takes too long. It's like it's painful. So any way they can avoid doing that, if somebody is coming to them and say, hey, if you just pay me $49.99 for this shake weight, you know what I mean? It's going to solve all your problems. So you can see why so many people, particularly around like New Year's and stuff like that, they're like, oh, I'm going to get in shape this year, so I'm going to spend $49.99 and buy this like thing I saw in an infomercial, and that's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to get skinny, even though they don't ever use it.
It's hard for some people. It's not hard for me. I like it.
Yeah.
But,
But for most people it is.
Yeah, Chinny knows me, you know what I mean? I grew up in mental and physical adversity. And, the harder things are, the more I thrive in that.
Yeah.
If I'm not working out or doing this or doing that, it's usually stuff I want to do. I don't like to really do what somebody else wants me to do. But
Well, I don't either.
If I want to do it,
I don't either.
then I just love it, I like it, But that's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference between pro fighter and somebody who's a LARPer.
Well, and even people that do enjoy working out or something like that, because, getting into the kind of shape that some, like, MMA fighters are in, for example, that takes years, and that takes, like, a lot of discipline, not just working out. You also have to, like, restructure your whole life around that shit.
Yeah.
It has to do with your diet and everything like that.
What's funny
and a lot of people are not willing to put that in.
But what's funny from my point of view is it's not long, really. 5 years is about what it takes. And you can get a good transformation in about 18 months. But that's too much for some people.
Well, when you're young, 5 years seems like a very long time. When you're our age, 5 years seems
nothing.
like nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's weird because like the older you get, like the faster time starts to go. I know it's like it's relative, I know, but it does really seem like that.
Yeah.
Because you know how they have that Facebook memories thing, and it's like, hey, this happened like 6 years. I'm like, holy fucking shit, 6 years ago. And it's like, you know what I mean? It seemed like it was just the other day. Yeah. So it'll happen to you too, kids.
Yeah.
If any of you young ass people.
Was there anything more about Dux?
I don't think so. It was just like the regular shit.
We can pretty much wrap it up.
Like I said, it's like his whole military thing that he talked about.
Yeah, he's thoroughly debunked.
Probably bullshit.
No, he's been thoroughly debunked.
There's all the kind of shit about him.
Yeah.
I already mentioned him like talking about the doubles in the interviews.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Anybody who tells you he's an ultra secret fucking CIA spy and he can't tell you who he is, then the fucker's lying.
Bye.
It says right there on his book, I'm an ultra secret spy and I can't tell you who I am.
Then he came out later and tried to say he never said that,
but
even though it's right on the cover of the book that he said that he was a secret. His book was called The Secret Man, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then it said right there in the description
CIA's
on the
most
front.
secret fucking agent.
Yeah. And not
Not a secret anymore.
I guess not.
No.
What the fuck, man? Just stop it. Just stop it. It just seems like too much trouble. Like I said, all this lying, it just seems like too much trouble.
You don't know if you're talking to him or you're not talking to him. It might be a double.
It might be a double.
You don't know.
And he could tell you all kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, won that kumite, and they said, well, where's the sword? Oh, I had to trade the sword to free the kids from the pirates.
That's what he said, you guys. That's not exaggeration.
No, pirates down in the Philippines, I think he said it was.
I think it was, yeah. It was
Filipino pirates captured all his kids, and he had to give the sword back.
And he had to give the sword to them to trade for the kids? Is that what he said?
Because he had a damn valuable
It was
sword.
something like that.
So, yeah.
How did they come up with this shit? I write fiction, and I can't come up with this shit.
Well, because he's read a lot. I guess he's fucking watched a lot of movies.
Plus, and I wouldn't have the balls to, try to pass it off as...
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, he had to come up with an explanation of where the sword went.
He could have just said, I lost it.
Well, yeah, he did lose it, but he had to do he had to lose it.
He had to lose it in the most ridiculous
in a
manner.
fucking honorable way. I lost it saving somebody.
He couldn't just say, "Oh, I was moving it."
Well,
in the
what'd you
moving
save children from? White slavers.
Yeah.
That's some shit like that.
Because everything,
Yeah.
like I said, it's like just stop it.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I know there's that whole thing about like, oh, the big lie is more believable. I don't think that's true. I think like the more detail and the more shit you add to it, the less believable you are making it.
Man, me and Steve, we had this friend of ours. His name was Patrick. We used to call him Matrick because his.
Oh, you've told me about this guy. You told me about this guy before.
Yeah, Matrick was a fucking pathological liar.
Yeah.
He would tell us all kinds Man, he told us a big long story about the party barge.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking where he was watching some people on a party barge and somebody with on a ski-doo fucking ran through it and cut it in half. And fucking they were all drunk and drowning and he and his boy had to jump in the water. And they saved like 20 or 30 people from drowning on the party barge. And this is like over in somewhere in Lake Michigan or some shit like that. Just all these fucking crazy-ass lies. And we'd have to put up with these lies. And he's, yeah, man, that's exactly how it happened. That's how it happened?
You sound like BTK there.
Well, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, he was a lot like BTK. He was like a skinny BTK. That's exactly how. You wouldn't call me a liar, would you? He was like that,
Yeah, but, not to your face, maybe.
And he had a badass girlfriend. His girlfriend was the principal's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was super cute. But then she couldn't put up with it anymore. She couldn't put up with him anymore, and then she screwed Steve.
That would get old.
She screwed Steve, yeah.
It
was high school.
From what I know, I've only met Steve one time, you guys.
Yeah, Steve.
But
me and Steve.
he stayed here once when he was going somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
me and Steve would tore that fucking place up. Man.
That's what I mean. It's like between you and Steve, I think you like fucked every chick at your school.
Just
right?
the good looking ones.
Just the good looking ones.
Good-looking.
You wouldn't bang the ugly chick. You wouldn't give the ugly chicks a pity.
There was no time.
There was no time.
There was just no fucking time.
We didn't have enough time for the ugly ones. We were still working our way through the good looking ones.
There was no. Well, we were in the drama.
Priceless,
we were in a drama club. We were singing, and he was in the band and shit. You know what I mean? He was in a band. He played bass. He could play played just like Steve Harris from fucking Iron Maiden. I've been alone. I remember the lyrics. My mind goes blank. That kind of shit. Yeah. 666. Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that song.
Yeah, we're doing all that shit. But no, he was. I don't know.
You guys see right here. This is some proof right here.
Yeah.
Like, cause this guy, you're a drama guy. You were like in all the musicals and shit like that.
Yeah, I could act. I'd been drama.
And he got all the ladies.
Sing and sing.
All of them.
Yeah. But so did Steve though. Steve was like my twin brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Steve. He was pretty cool. Like I said, I've only met him once, and I didn't know him back in the day.
He was a lot
smarter.
smarter. He ended up on that human genome project. He was a scientist. He's a biochemist.
Yeah.
And he ended when he was in college. He learned how to make acid.
God damn it!
All kinds of stuff. Yeah.
You need to talk to him again.
Okay. We're on the internet. He also got into big in those computers, and he made a damn flight simulator. And those dudes that did that 9/11 attack on the damn Twin Towers, they had his program.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, they came and interviewed him about it, but then it was no big deal. It was just because it was commercially available.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do?
It's a commercially available flight simulator.
It's just kind of like if you make anything and somebody uses it to kill somebody else. It's
it was back when that happened.
What are you gonna do? Holy shit.
Yeah, Steve. And now that I fucking lift, Steve's buying him a set. He's got a lift.
Y'all are still.
We're in a competition. We're in a tough man competition.
You don't even I mean, you guys still talk to each other on Facebook.
Yeah, on Messenger every day, pretty much.
Really? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys still talk that often.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've only met him one time, but I heard about him a lot before I met him.
Yeah.
Because he was like best buddies, and they were just talking about all the women they were plowing through back then.
Yeah. It was high school.
I know.
I get tired and we'd switch.
Yeah, they traded girls.
They didn't care, though. They didn't care. They were like us. They didn't care.
Yeah, I can see that.
They didn't care. Right. They were having fun.
All right. Well, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm probably done, too. You're probably... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to wrap up episode 158 about ninjas and Bullshido, as they call it.
Yeah.
Martial arts chicanery of various types. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Probably go back to the true crime next week, because I feel like it's been like 3 weeks now where we haven't actually done murders and shit.
Yeah.
I feel kind of weird about it.
Trying to think if I got any more stories of karate stuff. Ninja Jim.
Yeah.
Ninja Jim tried to whip my ass one time because I was racing him to Denny's. He had a brand
Wait,
new...
in your car or like on foot?
And I was actually in Bill's car.
Oh, okay.
My stepdad's car. All right. I was racing to Denny's and fucking Big Jim was in his brand new car.
I have to get moons over my hammy.
He bought one of those fucking Fox Body Mustangs, 5.0s, brand new.
Yeah.
And he started to fucking beat me. So I just
Oh,
fucking
can't have
turned
that.
right as fast as I could, and he had to hit shit, slam on the brakes, and I cut in the lane in front of him. He was fucking pissed because he thought I was gonna fucking dent his brand new Mustang. When I got to fucking Denny's, he tried to kick my ass, Ashida Kim style. It didn't work though.
Going like that? Was he going
yeah,
like
is
that?
he doing the ninja
If you're-
shapes and shit?
Yeah, if you're doing the audio, if you're
Ninja
listening to the
shapes.
audio, you can't see what
Yeah.
I'm doing, but I'm doing
Yeah.
the Ashida Kim, look,
Yeah.
I'm killing you.
Yeah, he
focusing my
tried
energy.
to. I talked him out of it. Says, dude, man, we got shit to do. You know, says, you can be
We've
all
got
right.
pancakes
I said,
to
that
eat.
fucking car's insured.
We don't have time for this
I
right
said,
now.
that car's insured. I just got it. I said, it's insured, man. You'll be all right. I knew you had good reflexes, man. You watched Mad Max 5 times. You know, that kind of stuff. Because you like Mad Max, too.
Dudes.
Yeah.
They're adorable.
I was about 17.
That'd have been really funny.
He
if
was
you guys-
older than us. He's older than us, I think, by 2 years.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't seem like it. It seemed like he was about 15.
Because he was really immature.
Fucking, yeah. Didn't seem- yeah. Yeah, he seemed like he was about 15. That dude didn't have a girlfriend. He eventually got one.
Well, what, like, why not? What was the matter with him?
Women weren't interested in that dude.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of, you know, nerdy, I guess, you know.
Well, nothing wrong with nerdy.
Back in the 80s, there was a lot
Well,
wrong
that's
with
true.
nerdies. Yeah, a lot wrong with nerds.
I feel like now, nerds have it easier nowadays.
Oh, yeah, a lot easier. But back in the 80s, man, you were fucking sunk.
Yeah, because I feel like now, like, everybody's kind of nerdy
His
in
Mick
one way or
Dojo
another.
ass would be like standing in there in those karate ready stance wherever he was going. Walking
Aw.
around barefoot like he's getting ready to kick somebody and shit.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Showing off. His Chuck Norris fucking mullet. Yeah,
Oh, no.
He had a Chuck Norris mullet.
Did he
with-
have, like, a
he had the
chest...
mustache
Did he
and
have a
everything.
chest hair mat?
No,
like,
but he had a Chuck Norris mullet with a
Ugh.
Chuck Norris fucking beard. With a Chuck Norris mustache.
I guess...
And because he was young, it just looked like fuzz.
Well, yeah.
You know, it was red. He was a fucking ginger. Just like Chuck Norris.
And like me.
Yeah. But, you know, look just
I don't
like...
have a mustache. Though.
Yeah, he was a fake Chuck Norris. He's fucking...
I got some fucking stories about... Well, because my ex-husband, who was British, was super into Chuck Norris. So
Yeah.
I saw... Whether I wanted to or not, I saw every single Chuck Norris movie. Even that stupid dog one, even the stupid one where he goes to hell, or whatever the fuck that
I tried
was.
to watch The Octagon.
Hundreds of times.
I could only get about 15 minutes into it. Was like,
I
no.
didn't mind the Octagon, actually. I mean, it's kind of a low bar, obviously, because they're
Yeah.
Chuck Norris movies we're talking about. But, you know, that was actually one of the better ones. Silent Rage was actually my favorite, which you said you hadn't seen.
No.
Because we were talking to the other day when we were at Memento Mori, we were talking to our friend Little Swole,
Yeah.
who was also
Little
a huge
Swole.
Chuck Norris fan.
Yeah.
And he was very surprised that I had seen Silent Rage and that you had not seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen Silent Rage many times.
Yeah.
That's actually probably, if I had to pick the best Chuck Norris movie, I think it would probably be that one. Just because it wasn't like a Chuck Norris movie. It was like a psychological horror movie, but that happened to have Chuck Norris in it, unfortunately.
Check it out then.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was, I mean, you know, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but, you know.
All right, shut it down.
Your mileage may vary. All right. Hope you guys have enjoyed episode 158. Like I said, we'll probably go back to the true crime next week. Might do Edmund Kemper, I'm not sure. But we'll probably get back to doing murders and shit. Because it's been like 3 weeks and we've done other stuff. So, anyway, remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. You know, it helps. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, share the show. That helps us grow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you'd like to financially support the show, obviously we have our Patreon, we have our blog, in which you can go to our PayPal account if you would like to give a one-time donation. Any little bit helps, and we certainly do appreciate it. And we will see you on our next episode.